It's pretty efficient. It's pretty good. Looks like we've got some breaking news. Lamarcus Aldridge. Let's go over to our NBA desk. Elijah Campbell is standing by, has called it a career.
That's right. Lamarcus Aldridge has played his final game in anybody's uniform. Played a couple of games for the Nets after getting released by the San Antonio Spurs. So after his announcement for his retirement today, that marks almost 16 full seasons in the NBA, and not a Hall of Fame career, but a Hall of Very Good career for Lamarcus Aldridge. And unfortunately for him, he didn't get his chance to chase his title because he's retiring due to health reasons. Looks like he has an irregular heartbeat that was discovered this past week, forcing him to retire. And in his statement, he said, quote, "I've put, for the last 15 years, I put my family first, and now it is time for me to put my health and my family first."
He's made a lot of dough. He's good.
Tons of money. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's made tons.
Won
hundreds of millions of dollars.
How many titles does he have? Or does he?
None. No, he didn't win it.
Oh no, he came to San Antonio right after they won.
It was at the end of the San Antonio era.
For some reason, I thought he was there on that last team.
Nope.
He was close. He was very, very close. Yeah. And none of those Spurs teams that he ended up joining actually ended up being higher than, I believe, a 4 or 5 seed.
Anybody remember who he played for in college?
Texas.
Well, who he played for? Who was his coach?
Rick Barnes.
Rick Barnes.
OG Rick Barnes recruit at Texas.
Rick Barnes.
Very good. I did forget to mention, as Ryan just reminded me in a group text, that I am paying off a bet this weekend. So to one of the games, I have to don the Joey Votto Reds jersey.
Oh, what bet did you lose?
This was so long ago. Okay. So remember during quarantine, we did a lot of, to kind of start the web streaming stuff, we did a lot of game night features. And there was a night where Ryan and I played MLB The Show on the PlayStation, and we streamed it, and Pete and Willie did the commentary. And so we did a best 2 of 3 between the virtual Braves and the virtual Reds, and I lost. And so the bet was going to be that on a future game night I had to wear a Joey Votto Reds jersey, and the Preds picked up their season, and there was never really a good opportunity to do it. So I said, okay, for the bachelor party, I'll wear the Votto jersey.
Okay.
At the Reds game. So I am wearing a Joey Votto number 19.
But you can't cheat, though. You cannot cheat, and I'm sure Porth is going to hold your feet to the fire. You cannot wear like a Braves hat with your Votto jersey.
No,
you have to be full-on Reds.
You don't have to worry about that, because I am a staunch believer in when you go to a game, the only gear you can wear are the teams participating in that game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I will not wear.
I don't understand that.
Now,
help me understand why people think that's.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Why would you go to a Reds Indians game and wear a Yankees shirt? Why?
It makes no sense. Now, minor league game. If you go to a minor league game and you wear your Yankees gear or your Braves gear, okay, that's fine. But if it's a major league game and the Braves are not participating in this one, it is wrong, in my opinion, for me to wear Braves gear.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Let's go
by the way, we see that at Bridgestone.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's like okay, we're here for the Predators and the Lightning, and there goes somebody by a barrel house, and they've got a Maple Leafs jersey on.
Yeah.
It's like,
what? Why?
Why?
They're not playing.
Why are you wearing a Leafs jersey at this game?
I've seen so many Canadians jerseys at Bridgestone Arena in games in which the Canadians are not involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But what is the point of that? I don't understand the logic behind that.
And there's a guy that wears he has to be a season ticket holder or knows somebody, but I see this same guy all the time in a Blackhawks jersey when the Blackhawks aren't playing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And so I've seen, there's a guy that has a Thrashers jersey, which okay, I mean that's funny.
If you're wearing a Hartford Whalers, okay,
But see,
Quebec Nordiques, but okay.
I would even
you're
say
saying because that's in the division. All right, is that what you're saying?
Because Hartford, the Hurricanes actually wear the Whalers jerseys.
Okay,
again.
well they just did. Yes.
Yeah. So,
okay, how about the Nordiques? Or I guess the Thrashers is the only one that applies because it doesn't.
Colorado with the reverse throwback, they're wearing Nordiques.
They did wear Nordiques.
Yeah.
So basically the league has stopped acknowledging the Thrashers like they didn't exist. Is that what you're saying? So they're in play.
So Robbie just texted me and said, "I'm going to wear a Henry Rowan Gartner Cubs jersey."
Why? No, he will not, because you guys will give it to him. Good.
That's probably why he'll do it.
Yeah, he probably will. That'll be fantastic. All right, we'll talk about this matchup tonight. Speaking of the Hurricanes, Predators and Canes tonight, and Saturday night we'll talk to Adam Vingan from The Athletic. We'll ask him if he went to a Vanderbilt, Georgia basketball game, if he would wear a Duke shirt. We'll ask him that. We'll see what his answer is. My guess is he probably will say yes. We'll talk to Adam on the other side. Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Tim Hasselback normally joins us on Wednesdays, and a lot of you are wondering, where was Tim yesterday at noon? Well, his TV schedule has been unfortunately interfering lately here on ESPN, so he will be moved into tomorrow. So Tim Hasselback tomorrow, Trent Dilfer tomorrow on the program. So not that that's already not enough to listen to. Don't forget also tomorrow, free beer going into the weekend. Yeah, a chance for you to win a $25 gift card from Bavarian Beer House, which is located at Opry Mills Mall. So be listening for that too. So you'll get a chance to win free beer. We've got some great guests, a great way to finish up the week. Ryan Porth reminding me during the break, remember the Leafs fan at Barrel House a couple of years ago? Oh, yes. Don't I?
I remember that.
And it was not a Leafs game, correct? That was not a Leafs game. So I don't remember.
Actually, it might have been. I think it was.
So maybe it wasn't a violation?
No, but
he was just in violation.
Yeah, and it was
so Gary Bettman was on site that night, and Gary Bettman came and did a segment with me in pregame, and Barrel House was packed for that. I mean, packed. And when Gary Bettman left, this guy is just giving it to me. So we go to the commercial break. Why didn't you ask him about concussions and and player safety? He's just going on and on and on. And it was like, dude, what are you talking? And he was clearly. He had been out on Broadway for many, many hours leading up to it. Like I said, Barrel House was packed, and he just kept going. Well, I let him go, and then eventually I'd had enough. And so I kind of started giving it back to him. And remember, who did he have? He said, I don't care, I'm a Vegas fan. And I'm like, you're really confused. You've got a Leafs jersey on.
Leafs jersey on.
He's like, I've been a Vegas Golden Knights fan my whole life. And I'm like
Wait,
all
what?
3 years? Remember at the time I was like, all 3 years? And he's like, my whole life.
I think it was 2 years at that point.
Maybe 2 years. He's like, my whole life. He's like screaming at me. And so I was just like, okay, this is silly. This is just ridiculous. And so luckily
I didn't know what was going to happen.
The patrons in Barrel House just turned on this guy. So it was easy for me to bounce out and just sit back because the patrons in Barrel House had enough. And they're like, get out of here. So basically, the people in Barrel House, the fans, the Predators fans, were like, get out of here. Keep moving. And they literally just sent him packing, and he's like running his, flapping his gums, leaving Barrel House, walking down the concourse. And I remember turning to you, and I was like, yeah. And Porth was in there, and I was like, there's no way that guy sees the end of this game. No chance.
No
chance. This was in pregame.
Yeah,
this
was bad.
This is 45 minutes away from puck drop. I was like, no chance.
It got uncomfortable there for a minute.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was funny. But it may have been a Leafs game. But that's right. But it was funny how he somehow got onto the Vegas Golden Knights and how he's been a fan his whole life. And I'm like, all 2 years? And he's like, my whole life. I was like, okay, well, they just came in the league. All right. Let's bring in Adam Vinkin from The Athletic. Let's find out if he was going to cover Vanderbilt Georgia basketball game next year. Let's say he's not covering, so he doesn't have a credential. He's just going with his dad as just fans. Dad's in town, and they're going to the game just to see college basketball. Would Adam Vinkin wear a Duke shirt to that game? People want to know.
I would not.
You would not.
I would not.
So you are in the camp of us. Like, you don't wear a shirt or a jersey of someone that's not playing in the game that you're at.
Yes, I am very particular about jersey fouls and things of that nature. To me, the only acceptable time to wear the shirt or jersey or hoodie of a team that is not playing in a game is if you're at a minor league
Thank
game.
you.
Yeah.
I feel
that's,
like when
that's
you're
acceptable.
at a minor league game, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of minor league hockey games as a youngin', and I feel like you could get away with it there. But if you are attending a professional or collegiate sporting event, if you are not wearing the paraphernalia of either of the teams that are participating in said event, you shouldn't be wearing it.
Yeah. In fact, we just got a tweet like 3 minutes ago from Nate at Go Blue Raiders 1. Is it wrong to wear major league stuff to a minor league game? Braves to Gwinnett games. I want to wear Braves to the Sounds when Gwinnett comes to town. Is that a violation?
Not at all.
Absolutely
That's not a violation.
not.
Not a violation.
Absolutely not. If the Braves farm team is playing and you want to wear your Braves jersey, that makes total sense. Because how many people own Gwinnett Braves jerseys?
Yeah, or they're not even the
Not very
Gwinnett
many
Braves
people.
anymore. They're the Stripers.
Yeah.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Here's another one. Adam, this is not why we had you on, but you're adding a lot to this conversation, so we'll continue it just a second. What if you wear something collegiate to a pro game? That's another one that comes up.
So you're saying there's
I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
A Titans season ticket holder, huge fan of Derrick Henry, wears an Alabama shirt. Is that what you're basically?
Yeah, but not even.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I think that's fine. For me, we could spend this entire segment talking about jersey fouls because I see a lot of them at Predators games.
Oh, I know. That's what we were talking
about.
about.
Just grind my gears. Can I share? Can I share one?
Please.
You're getting worked up, so go ahead.
Okay, there are two that I see often that drive me nuts. One is, if we're using the Predators games as an example, one is when a fan wears a Predators jersey with a name and number on the back of a player who never wore that jersey. So, for example, I remember seeing on the concourse at some point over the last couple of years the old Navy alternate Predators jerseys from 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, with James Neal on it. James Neal never wore that jersey. Therefore, that is unacceptable. And the other thing that drives me nuts is when I've seen the current home or road Predators jersey with a Stanley Cup final patch from 2017 on it. Those jerseys did not exist in 2017, so that is also a jersey foul.
Okay, so let me ask you this along those lines, because I agree with you. However, with the reverse retro jersey that they have just come out with, I have seen some fans take old players and put them on that jersey. And I don't really have an issue with it because it is in the spirit of reverse retro. So, for instance, there is a lady that comes in that is a big fan and comes into the Barrel House a lot. She elected to go Chris Mason on her reverse retro. I'm okay with that.
I think that's a gray area. I could see it being acceptable. I would like to call out the fan that I did see on the concourse the other night wearing a Winter Classic number 9 jersey with Forsberg on the back.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Korea.
No, that would have been bad too. But player nicknames also unacceptable.
Yeah,
so if you're wearing a Forsberg jersey, get the heck out of here with that nonsense. So if you're listening, sir, I'm putting you on the list preemptively.
Oh, a little prelude of tomorrow's. You just made the list. Okay. At Bearded Weirdo wants to know, can you wear an Admiral's jersey to a Preds game? Yes. That's acceptable.
Yes, you can.
That's
Absolutely.
Absolutely acceptable.
Absolutely acceptable. Even if it's a player who isn't currently or hasn't played for the Predators. They've been affiliated for 20 years. So, yes, absolutely acceptable. I used to go to Norfolk Admirals games as a kid when they were in the AHL and they started as the affiliate of the Blackhawks, and I saw a lot of Blackhawks jerseys on the concourse at the Norfolk Scope. That's perfectly acceptable. I've seen Admirals, Milwaukee Admirals jerseys rather, on the concourse at Bridgestone Arena all the time. That's perfectly acceptable because they're affiliated with the organization.
Absolutely. All right. What did you make of the news after we got off the air yesterday of Philip Tomasino getting called up?
Well, it's certainly interesting. First of all, he deserved it. He's played incredibly well at the American League level. And, the fact that the OHL season never got off the ground this year, I feel like has been a blessing in disguise for Philip Tomasino because he was able to play in the American League, which he would not have been able to do under normal circumstances because of the NHL-CHL agreement, which basically states that a player of a certain age is ineligible to play. Junior players of certain ages are ineligible to play in the AHL. But he has, I just pulled it up, 20 points in 18 games, 7 goals, 13 assists, 1 point behind Tanner Jeannot, who leads the Wolves in scoring. But, of course, Tanner Jeannot currently with the Nashville Predators had a big game, first goal the other day. So I'm curious to see what happens here. I think Philip Tomasino would have been the one player I would have left in the American League this year in order to get as much seasoning as he can. You know, I've spoken to both Ryan Warsofsky, the Chicago Wolves head coach, and Carl Taylor, of course, the Milwaukee Admirals head coach, who is assisting the Chicago Wolves coaching staff this year, and both of them have been effusive in their praise of Philip Tomasino, talking about how he is a player who wants to be in the big moments, wants the puck, you know, is learning, you know, everything he needs to learn, does not seem intimidated by playing against professionals. So if he does get an opportunity to play before the end of the season, you know, that would be great. You know, a lot of fans would be really excited to see him.
There is going to be quite the matchups. The top four are going to be going at it starting tonight, and that was just because you've got Nashville and Carolina and Florida and Tampa getting ready to start up a series. And I just read where John Cooper said that Stamkos will not play against the Panthers. So that is interesting. Of course, he did not play in the series here against the Predators, and you know, they're a little bit different team without Stamkos. I mean, already don't have Kucherov. I'm interested to see how long this goes on for Tampa. So with that being said, what do you make of Victor Arvidsson's play right now? He had 2 goals in the win over Tampa on Tuesday night. He's got 5 goals in the last 4 games. What do you make of his play of late?
I feel like we are starting to see the Victor Arvidsson of old. And one thing that has been different about Victor Arvidsson's play over the past couple of years, specifically this season and last season, is his lack of production off the rush. When Victor entered the NHL, and especially those years when he was scoring 30-plus goals, close to 30 goals, he was doing a lot of his damage off the rush. And over the past couple of seasons, up until this point, he hasn't been able to do that as much. And I think some of that might just have to do with things to last season, which seems like it was closer to 2 years by now. But of course, the cross-check that he took from Robert Bortuzzo early last season that cost him about a month of action, you know, seemed to zap him of his speed. And I feel like we're starting to see the speedy Victor Arvidsson that we came to know early in his career. A few months ago, I likened Arvidsson to a hockey-playing Sonic the Hedgehog in the sense that he speeds around the rink, he bounces off of people, he's all over the place. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit more. And I think of the stretch pass that Roman Josi utilized to find Victor Arvidsson on the breakaway the other night. We hadn't seen a lot of that lately. I feel like he's making better decisions, better reads. He even said that himself after the game. And he's had some poor shooting luck at the beginning of the season, so we're seeing some positive regression as well. All of this is to say that for the first time, I feel like in a year, a couple years, maybe a year and a half, I feel like we're seeing Victor Arvidsson as we came to know him when he burst onto the scene.
You know, rarely do you ever say, well, when this guy comes back and this guy comes back, usually it's, you know, how fast can they get back in? It's been interesting to see this team to just plug it along with whoever steps up and is in the lineup, 13-3 in their last 16. But it does seem like, you know, a lot of these guys, Adam, are getting close. And let's say that there's a window here very, very soon where Duchesne and Forsberg and Fabro and all these guys are ready to return the lineup. It is interesting to see how John Hines is going to handle this and who's coming out.
Yeah, I mean that's the question right now, and I'm curious about, and I might ask John about this shortly when we speak to him before the game. I'm curious about this concept of chemistry because we talk about it a lot, and it's clear that this group that has been on the ice for the past month clearly has chemistry. We've seen it with the Sissons line, with Trennan and Olivier, and now Jeannot. We've seen it. I feel like we've seen the revival, perhaps, of the chemistry between Ryan Johansson and Victor Arvidsson, even without Philip Forsberg. The Yarncroke, Granlund, Cunnin line has developed chemistry. And here's the thing that I think some people need to understand. When Matt Duchene and Philip Forsberg and Ellie Tolvanen are ready to play, they're going to play. I can't imagine a scenario where John Hynes holds those players out just because things are going well. Those players are important, and they're going to get back into the lineup. And I'm curious to see how much perhaps we outside of the dressing room, outside of the organization, reporters, fans, perhaps overblow, for lack of a better term, the concept of chemistry. Like if, for example, Matt Duchene is ready to play and John Hynes puts him on the right side of Mikael Granlund and bumps Luke Cunnin down. Is all of a sudden that second line going to crater because Cunnin is off it and Duchene is on it? I don't think so. But it is a conversation. I mean, I see a lot of comments on my stories and on Twitter that, why should we put Duchene back in when he's healthy? Things are going well without him. Well, I have to imagine that when he is healthy, he is going to play. And John Hynes is going to have a lot of tough decisions to make.
We're talking to Adam Vingan of The Athletic. So you bring up those tough decisions, and you bring up Matt Duchene specifically. When he does come back into the lineup, what do you need to see that you can be able to say, okay, it was a successful return? You can, gauge the season as a whole however you want, but that you're seeing the Matt Duchene that you need to see for the Nashville Predators. What exactly does he have to do?
Well, I think he needs to score. I mean, I know that sounds simple, but if you look at Matt Duchene's season before he was hurt and you dig into the numbers, and I know that our dear friend Jared Stillman has adopted what he calls the Craig Smith rule, that regardless of the analytics, if I'm not seeing pucks being put into the net, it doesn't matter what the analytics says. And I feel like a lot of people have adopted that rule when it comes to Matt Duchene. If you dig into his numbers, which I tend to do, not just for him, but for all players, this season they are very good in terms of driving play, in terms of drawing penalties, in terms of accumulating scoring chances. Matt Duchene was having, underlying number-wise, a strong season before he was hurt. Of course, that did not translate to goals and points. And before he was hurt, whenever he would talk to us, you could hear that frustration in his voice, that it was hard for him to be playing well and not contributing and not turning those underlying numbers into tangible results. So for me, I need to see Matt Duchene put points up on the board. I mean, to me, that would be successful. And I know it sounds simple, but I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, I don't think Matt Duchene was having a bad season, other than the fact that his boxcar stats weren't very good. If he can, like Arvidsson has, find that, reverse that puck luck or lack of luck that he was having at the beginning of the season and start scoring, I think people will be happy to see him.
David Poyle said in the press conference after the trade deadline and on our show as well, I mean, he has expressed interest in talking to Mikael Granlund on a possible return to the Predators, albeit most likely after the expansion draft, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Do you think that would be a good move for them to bring him back, or are you kind of the belief that and I know you were one that was a proponent of selling at one point in time, or are you of the belief that maybe that's not a direction they need to go?
Yeah, that's a good question, because Mikael Granlund took a discount to re-sign with the Predators, rather, before the season started. I think his previous cap hit was 5.75, and he signed for 3.75. So I can't imagine Mikael Granlund is going to be interested in taking another pay cut after taking one this offseason. Some of that had to do with the flat cap, of course, but he did take less money than he probably could have gotten in a normal offseason, which, of course, was not the case. The Predators have some incredibly tough contract decisions coming up. Granlund is an unrestricted free agent this summer. Erik Haula is an unrestricted free agent this summer, but I don't think that's that difficult.
Yeah.
I don't foresee Erik Haula returning. Ellie Tolvanen is a restricted free agent. Dante Fabro is a restricted free agent. Jeremy Davies is a restricted free agent. UC Saros is a restricted free agent. Matthew Olivier is a restricted free agent. You know, they have a lot of young players they need to take care of. And then in next summer, not this coming summer, but the following summer, you have Calle Jarnkrok needs a contract. Philip Forsberg needs a contract. Matthias Ekholm needs a contract. There are a lot of very important decisions that need to be made. And someone's going to have to be sacrificed. And that sounds incredibly bloody and dangerous, but you know what I mean. Someone is going to have to be sacrificed. And Mikael Granlund certainly has a strong case in negotiations. I mean, his agent could certainly make the case that without Granlund, this team falls apart this season because of all of the injuries. So he has good bargaining power. But you know, expansion this offseason is going to be incredibly interesting. Because if I'm the Predators, which I'm not, but if I were, I would do what I could to get the Seattle Kraken to take one of my $8 million centers. Losing one of those two players, Matthew Shane or Ryan Johansson, would go a long way in creating cap space to solve a lot of those problems. But I'm not sure how realistic that's going to be. So, you know, I think Granlund, you know, would be a good player to keep around, but at what cost? And that's the question that the Predators are going to have to ask themselves.
Last one for me, Adam, as we start looking down the stretch here, and I feel like that every 2 weeks we say the next 2 weeks are going to be very important in deciding the Predators' future, but they are when you look at the matchups. If the Predators make the playoffs, in your mind, if it's Tampa or Carolina, I won't say Florida because I think the first spot is going to go to Tampa or Carolina. Which matchup do you feel the best about for the Predators if that is, in fact, what happens?
Oh, geez.
I know. I'm already doing that. How about that?
I don't feel great about either one of them, to be honest. I mean, the Lightning have not looked great as of late, but they are still the Tampa Bay Lightning. If Steven Stamkos gets healthy, and we know that Nikita Kucherov is earmarked to return in the postseason, and Andrei Vasilevsky, you know, plays like we know Andrei Vasilevsky can play, you know, they're going to be a tough out. And Carolina is going to be too. I mean, they're a great team. You know, to me, the thing that makes the difference is the goaltending. I mean, you know, Andrei Vasilevsky is a rock back there. You know, whether it's Peter Mrazek or James Reimer, you know, they are weaker relative to Andrei Vasilevsky. So maybe Carolina would be the team you would rather have from that alone. But, you know, like, to me, the Predators are going to be significant underdogs either way. It is hard to come up with one because both of those teams do not have clear weaknesses. You know, you look at Florida, you know, they're a good team too. But if Sergei Bobrovsky is starting in the playoffs versus Chris Driedger, I think you feel better because Bobrovsky has not lived up to his expensive contract, and Driedger has been a pleasant surprise. You know, I think that series, especially with Aaron Ekblad out too, you know, I think that series might be more of a coin flip. But the other two, it's murderer's row any way you slice it.
Right.
No doubt. What's coming up? Anything the next day or two people need to check out on The Athletic or just put out?
Well, my friend Ryan Clark, who covers the Seattle Kraken, and I combined on an expansion piece today. and I'm currently going through the plethora of mailbag questions that I received from our dear readers and listeners, and I'm going to put out a mailbag tomorrow. I believe that is the plan. Those are always fun, so check that out. And I'm still waiting for my gift card.
I really hope, and especially now that you just said that, I really hope the league keeps adding a team like every 2 to 3 years, so you can just keep covering the expansion draft. That would be
difficult.
nice.
It's difficult.
Hey, Adam,
it's hard to come up with it.
Well, no, because the minute they announce the next team, you're going to start getting the questions, who are the Predators going to lose?
Hey, is UC Saros exempt from the expansion draft?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, how many times have you fielded that question in the last 2 years?
Well, people just know that it grinds my gears at this point.
Yeah.
So they just keep asking. Quit. What was this Nick Saban? What was the Nick Saban line? I'm not going there, so quit asking.
Yep.
I'll get that gift card to you very, very soon.
It's in the mail. It's in the mail.
Yeah, you've been saying that for like 7 months now.
I know, but it's
slow.
just not as fun if you had it, you know? It's just not as fun. We'll get it though.
Before we go. I will say this before we go. If I don't get that gift card by the time my child is born, the first time I have to dump the diaper bag somewhere, it's going on your doorstep.
Adam, good stuff as always. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Adam Vingan from The Athletic. For some reason, I believe him. I think you.
I totally believe him. By the way, G Pander just provided the photo of the fan that we were talking about. It wasn't a Leafs jersey. I remember now. It was a Team Canada jersey because it was Sidney Crosby.
Oh, that's how the whole – okay. How did we get on the Vegas conversation?
Well, because he was rambling because clearly he was intoxicated.
Oh, you're right. There it is. Team Canada. He's got the 87 Crosby jersey on. Nice. G Pander 78. Boy, that was an interesting night. Oh, it's got so maybe Port was saying it's got the
it has
patch.
the leaf.
Yeah,
but
the
it's
leaf.
The
But
Canada.
it's the Team Canada. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. He said, "Look at the concern look on Chase's face.
Yeah.
You are looking at me like, what is going on?"
It was uncomfortable because I know you when you have had enough, and you had enough, and this
I'd had
guy's
enough
drunk,
of this guy,
and I'm like, surely I'm not gonna have to jump in the middle of these two. Which my money was on you anyway, but it was just like, what is gonna happen here?
Well, all I had to do was go, and he just would have fallen
fall
over. Yeah, no, I don't. That stuff does not bother. I mean, I'll let you go, and then when I'm done, then I'm going to let you know, I'm done with this silly conversation. And I let him go, and then I was done. And then the Barrel House was done with him, which was still the best. That was why Barrel House, the fans in there, are Hall of Fame worthy, because they didn't need Bridgestone security to send him on his way. They just went on and did it. Get out. We're asking you as a group, get out of here. Move on. And he did. Thank goodness. But he kept chirping the whole way out. I don't understand why he was so – I understand people – and here's the thing. We thought, well, he must be from Canada, right? We know the disdain for Canadians for Gary Bettman, right? We understand that.
Sure.
And so here he is. He's got Team Canada. And so here we go. Okay, it's a Canadian showing Gary Bettman was in person. All right, they just don't like the commissioner. I get it. He wasn't from Canada, was he?
That I don't remember.
I don't remember him.
For some
saying
reason,
he was
I do.
From Canada.
For some reason, I do remember an accent.
Okay.
So,
you sure it wasn't just slurring?
Well, very, very good possibility.
All right, we will come back and put a bow on the first hour of Darren, Daunic, and Chase next. Elijah bringing us back with some cool vibes back here on the DDC. We're going to give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Nashville SC take on FC Cincinnati. Just a Cincinnati theme here for you and Ryan Porth and Robbie Stanley, and Cincinnati will be in town on Saturday at Nissan Stadium, and that is the beginning of another MLS season. Year 2. It's going to be fun.
It is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and working those games again. Obviously, going to miss Saturday, which is a bummer, but for a good reason, of course. But looking forward to it. I think they're gonna have a good squad.
Well, thank you. There you go. Best color man in the business for nothing. There you have it. They just made a move, by the way, a big move. I just saw the other day that to bolster the roster, coming off a successful first season. So we'll see if they can build off last season and keep it going this year. Don't forget, some point before we get out of here today, we'll reveal that keyword for you to text in on our text line, 615-737-1025, for that chance to win that T-Mobile Hockey Home Gate giveaway. You know the drill by now. A Dos Equis prize pack, including a case of beer, dessert from Nothing Bundt Cakes, a T-Mobile prize pack, and food provided by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. Just keep in mind that you must be 21 years of age or older to enter. G-Pander did remind us in a tweet during the break that I may be getting mixed up with that fan with the fan that told me and Skillsy, a.k.a. Hal Gill.
Yeah.
Or Hal Gill, a.k.a. Skillsy, that he was a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights for 14 years. That was fun. That was another.
Yeah, it was a different way. So we have had, I'll say this, this is what, year 7 in Barrel House? 6?
6.
Year 6 in Barrel House?
6 in Barrel House.
In that time span, I can count on one hand the awkward incidents.
Yeah.
Like, we have been very, very blessed.
Considering the hot spot that it is, right?
Yes.
It is a happening place.
I mean, it's a bar.
Times.
It's a bar. We are in a bar.
It's a sports bar.
Yeah. And so, because you think about it, like if the Preds game's going on, obviously, but if there's a big football game or a basketball game or whatever,
there's TVs everywhere.
People are in there. It's a hopping spot.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been very lucky not to have, because we know people indulge and have a good time, and sometimes a little too much, and we've been lucky from that standpoint. But those are, now that G-Pander it's amazing what the people remember. G-Pander remembers a lot because he's usually there and had the picture. But you're right, it was 2 different incidents where the Golden Knights guy. But that was funny. I've been a Golden Knights fan my whole life. Like, really?
No, for 14 years.
Or 14 years. Oh, okay.
And it was like year 3.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
Was the
cool.
Bettman thing, was that last season? Was that like early last season, or was that the year before?
No, I think that was a couple years ago.
Because I couldn't remember if it was Bettman's last visit or like if he's had a visit afterwards.
I think it may have been the last visit.
Then it would have because he was here last year.
Was he?
Because there was a because the last time you had him on, it was I walk in and I go, did anybody know Gary Bettman was coming on?
That's right.
It was like a last minute thing.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, the memory's a little fun. I mean, they're all running together all these years. It's crazy. It's crazy. But
I'm not going to lie, though. This first hour has been fun because of this and just the conversations that have morphed from this.
I just would like for somebody to tell us, look, I really don't. I mean, Adam was getting worked up. He really was. But I just would like to know why you think, hey, I'm going to wear a Canadiens jersey to a Predators Florida Panthers game. I just would like to know what's the reasoning or rationale behind it. Let's go to our phone line driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Kathlina is on the line. She wants
It's me again.
She was there that night.
She was there that night.
I was there that night, and I was there for actually both incidents, the Vegas fan and the Sidney Crosby concussion fan. So I spent a lot of time at post game at the pre and post game at the Barrel House. But that guy that was talking about the concussions, he had on a Team Canada Sidney Crosby jersey. So when he finished with you, I made the comment to him, "Take your Sidney Crosby out of here," or something of that nature. And he said, "It's not even my jersey. Somebody loaned it to me."
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that.
Yes. And then, yes, we had played Vegas that night, I think, for the Vegas guy, and he came in with his Vegas jersey on, and he was like all pointing to it and everything. And he said, "I've been a Vegas fan my whole life." That's what you said, or for 14 or 15 years or something like that. And you said,
Wait, really?
They've only been around 3 years or 2 years or whatever it was. And we were all looking at him like, "Are you an idiot or what?"
And I don't even think he caught it either. That was the crazy thing. That tells you where he was. He was just like, it just totally went right over his head. I'm like, wow.
And then he kept coming by the glass, pointing at his Vegas jersey.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about he kept pointing to the jersey when he was walking by the glass. Oh.
It was hilarious. And no, I wouldn't wear anything other than, if I was going to a game that wasn't one of my teams being there, because I don't wear anything but my team stuff. But if I were, say, I were visiting somebody and we decided to go to a hockey game and neither team was mine, I wouldn't wear anything. I would have clothes on, obviously, but I would be wearing I wouldn't have a jersey on. I wouldn't have either team on, or even my own. I wouldn't bring my own there. So, but I agree with you. Why we're not even playing the Canadians? We're not even playing Detroit. We're not even playing, whatever. So
I just would like to hear the story behind it. Maybe, that's all. I just want to know why. What is right? What's the story behind that? I think most people are in this camp with it. I really do. I don't think this is like going out on a huge limb here that you don't do that, but obviously people do it all the time, and I just want to know the story behind it. Like, why?
Well, maybe that they're in town on vacation, and now why would they bring a jersey with them if they're just in town for no particular reason other than visiting family, maybe? And then maybe they are visiting family and they come to the game and somebody loans them that jersey, like a family member loans them, and they just want to say, "I'm a Canadian fan," but their team's not playing. They just decided to go to a hockey game. Yeah. That could be part of it. I don't know.
Could be. All right. Thanks for the call. Yeah, Kathleen was there.
Yeah.
I do remember her saying, "Get your Crosby jersey and get out of here."
See, telling these stories, like, I don't want to deal with drunk people all the time, but I am ready for a packed Barrel House again.
Are you sure after this first hour?
Well, No, I'm ready for the regulars.
You're right. Look, considering, in all seriousness, considering the amount of people that have been in there where usually you cannot even walk. That's why I've had fun telling, now it's turned into, at times, like a little playground for the players' wives and all the young kids that are now happening, and because nobody's in there for the most part.
Right.
And so, and we say that because you just never could do that, in normal times, because that place, you could not move through there.
Sure.
It's just, wall-to-wall people. And so, while we've had fun this first hour with a couple, stories here and there, for 6 years, you're right. Considering the amount of people and what they're doing in there, why most people are in there, they could be, they're in there taking on whether pregame or postgame or whatever, but they're hanging out and they're watching TV and, they're having an adult beverage or 2 or 3 or 4.
They're not exactly there for us.
But they're usually there to have fun, right? And so that's what we're getting. People just having fun. So you're right. We've been really, really lucky that we don't have like 45 stories to tell, right?
Yeah. Because there could be, with, like you said, with what is going on, there could be a lot of those, but they're not. Cowboys
legend Aldon Smith has signed with the Seahawks.
Oh, wow.
I got that from the Cowboys tweet. Cowboys legend Aldon Smith. I think everybody now who's played for the Cowboys is a Cowboys legend. I just made that up, but that was kind of
Titans legend Jadeveon Clowney with Cleveland
yes.
yesterday.
There we go. There we go. We had a little fun with that yesterday. Of course, it was Eddie James, Cowboys legend. So there you go. Aldon Smith to Seattle. Falcons are going to sign Cordarrelle Patterson. Cordarrelle Patterson still hanging around.
He is. Yeah, I'll give him that. That he is. This is what, his fourth team.
He's bounced around. He's
Minnesota.
He's become a special team specialist, is what
New
he's
England?
become.
New England.
He's played New England too.
Yeah.
It's about his fourth, fifth team.
Yep. We'll come back. Hour number 2 of Darren, Daunic, and Chase next. Second hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on ESPN 102.5. The Game on this Thursday. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt football coach, will join us in about 10 minutes. We'll tell you what they've got going on this weekend. Don't forget to join the game tomorrow from 11 to noon, T-Mobile in Brentwood. That's 1701 Mallory Lane as we celebrate the kickoff to Nashville SC season. There will be a free lunch from 10 in the morning until 2 p.m. You can register to win tickets for an upcoming Nashville SC home game Oswald Nashville SC and T-Mobile merch truck will be on site as well. This is all brought to you by T-Mobile and the official wireless partner of the Nashville SC. So if you're out in Cool Springs area tomorrow, 1701 Mallory Lane, celebrating the kickoff of Nashville SC season. Free lunch. That's all you got to say.
Love it.
Now, let's see if you can answer this question. Speaking of that theme, Nashville SC hosting FC Cincinnati this Saturday at Nissan Stadium. If you can answer this question correctly, you're the first one to do so. You'll win a pair of tickets. You'll be there on Saturday. Who won MLS Cup last year? Who was the champ from last season? Okay. City and name, okay? Both. Don't want just the full name, like Nashville SC or FC Cincinnati. Who won last year? Who was the champ last year? 615-737-1025, 737-1025. That is our phone line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. You know the answer?
I do.
Yeah.
I do
Me
know
too.
the answer.
Nate has entered a new layer to this conversation.
Okay. I feel it's just like the tunnel conversation, like one
Maybe.
it's okay.
Maybe. Nate says he's self-policing here with this tweet. Said he wore a Preds jersey to a Titans game once because they played the same night. And he said he wanted to support the Predators everywhere. He didn't have Titans gear at the time. How do you feel about that?
That's interesting. That is
different
certainly
now
yeah.
we're going down the different sport.
Yeah, same city, but different color scheme. That is insinuating circumstances.
How would you feel if you saw a Titans jersey at a Preds game?
I've seen that.
Yeah.
So
have I.
And I'm not like a huge fan. So like I've violated before. I thought about this during one of the breaks. I went to an Indiana Pacers game one time, and I had driven up from Nashville like right before the game, and I got caught in traffic, so I literally had to go right to the game. And I was wearing a Predators pullover. And so I was like very, very self-conscious about it. I'm like, but it was all I had, and I didn't really have anything, on underneath worth wearing. So I had no choice. But my saving grace was it was gold and the Pacers were gold. But I self-reported that, that's a violation because I'm wearing. Not only am I not wearing the team that's participating, but it's a completely different sport. However, I think for Nate in this case, because he was going to the game afterwards and he didn't have Titans gear, that it's a pass.
Let's take that out of the equation. Let's just say you go to a sporting event here locally and you wear another local team's shirt or jersey. How do you feel?
I don't feel great about it, but I'll give it to you because it's the city. Like I'm pretty sure I may have worn like a Preds jacket or something to a Vanderbilt game. But so I'll say it's okay.
I'm going into the camp of I think it's okay if it's whatever it is. If you wear a Vanderbilt shirt to a Sounds game, if it's in the same market, I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with it. As long as it's in the same market, because we see Titans jerseys at Preds games. And,
sure.
And I'm very sure that Nate is not the only person to wear a Preds jersey to a Titans game. I'm sure of it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think if it's in the same market, I think it should be okay.
Yeah, I can go with that. I
can't imagine anybody saying anything. Right, it's Nashville. So I can't imagine anybody really being upset over it. You're in Nashville and you're wearing something Nashville related. So I would think that it's okay.
And especially like right now, I remember last year when fans were allowed back in at Nashville SC, I did see some Preds stuff at Nashville FC, probably because they didn't have gear yet, and the colors are the same. So You know, the colors are very similar. So I get that. But if you're supporting the city, then that's totally cool.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think we're going to go on and say that's okay.
Keep your Jersey foul questions coming. This is fun.
Congratulations, Parker Knight. Parker Knight was the first to call in with the correct answer, and the correct answer we were looking for was the Columbus Crew.
Yes.
Columbus Crew, your MLS champ last season. In fact, that's who put out Nashville SC. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
And extra time, too, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
I know we got to get to Clark Lee, but Keith has added a whole nother layer that.
Boy.
No, but it's one that I disagree with, and I want to fight him on it. But we can do it later.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's we are going to have Clark Lee on the other side. So let's step away quickly. We'll come back. We'll tell you what Vanderbilt has up their sleeve. We'll find out how things are going with the new Vanderbilt football coach, Clark Lee. That is next on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase on this gorgeous Thursday here in Middle Tennessee. Darren McFarland and Chase McCabe with you. Willie will join us in just a bit. Don't forget, Predators are in Raleigh tonight to take on the Hurricanes. Puck drop is at 6 o'clock. Pete Weber and Hal Gill will have your call. I'll have pregame for you starting at 5. Everything heard right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Let's bring in new Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. He's on the line with us. We enjoyed our first chat with him just after he was hired. Now they've been out on the field getting things done, getting ready for the upcoming season. They've got something going on they want you to know about this weekend, and he now joins us. Clark, how you doing?
Doing great, guys. Great to be with you again.
Yeah, thanks for doing this again. How have things been over on West End so far?
Well, we've been busy. You know,
Yes.
we're 13 practices in. We got our 14th tomorrow, and then obviously the black and gold game on Saturday, which will be an exciting culmination to our first spring here. So we've made a lot of progress. Still got a long way to go, but it'll be a fun celebration of the work we put into this point.
We talked to you, Coach, when you first took this job and how your role is now changing. The hat you're going to put on is different than the hat you've been used to wearing at this level. So you just mentioned it, 13 practices in, and the different responsibilities and the challenges as you learn and grow in this role. How has it been thus far? Your staff, everything, trying to get everybody on the same page and everything coming together. How has that process been to this point?
You know, I'm glad that I took my time in hiring the staff. I think that was an important part because, you know, you realize every day how much you rely on those guys as basically the carriers of the message. I mean, I have my time with the team where we meet and really kind of set the tone for the day on practice days. But, you know, the in and out, day in, day out messaging and interaction with our players is the position coaches, the strength coaches, our support staff. And so taking time and hiring the staff really kind of led to an early alignment here that has allowed for us to, you know, to experience maybe like a little bit of an expedited environmental change within the building. So that's been good. I'm still learning my role. Like in practice, you know, I've swung in with the linebacker some and done some individual just to stay involved to a certain extent. But you know, just forcing myself to keep a big picture, you know, look on things and help where I can in terms of just obviously the structure of practice, but also the ins and outs of offense and defense and how we can play complementary football here.
I suspect everybody's got a different approach of what they're looking to get out of a spring game. So I'll just ask you, what are you and your staff looking to get out of your game on Saturday, the black and gold game?
Well, it's the 15th practice, so I think in that spirit, it is a game. We're going to play offense versus defense. We will keep score, but I mean, you know, in terms of how it fits within the structure of spring, it's the 15th practice opportunity, and so within that, you know, we want to see, you know, one more day of improvement. You know, I think there's been some significant growth, both on the individual level, but also on our identity level, like learning more about who we are and kind of crafting our plan to win. You just want to see that taken one step further on Saturday. You know, I want the guys to have fun. Honestly, I mean, we've been up early. You know, their alarms are probably going off at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're working every morning. So, you know, this is just a chance for them to celebrate all that work on the field, have fun competing. There's going to be good plays. There's going to be bad plays. I want to make through the spring game without any significant setbacks as far as injuries go, and hopefully it's a fun time for our fan base to connect with our program as well. And that's obviously very important for us as we're reaching the end of this pandemic and looking for opportunities to interact. I'll be excited for whatever interactions we can have on Saturday.
What did the latest announcement, the big press conference that was just had over on West End with athletics director, chancellor, the new chancellor, and basically the new plan moving forward, you know, $200 million project, and how will it affect your program? What did that mean to you and some of the things that were, you know, laid out there moving forward? I know it's nothing that's going to happen right now where you get to snap your fingers and your kids get to benefit from this. But what does it mean long term for you and your program?
The first thing for me on that day, and I had obviously anticipated this and knew it was coming. Didn't know when, but knew that it was sometime this spring would be announced. For me, it was still surreal when the press conference was had. I mean, just to be able to be at Vanderbilt at this moment, what an honor and a privilege. To be at Vanderbilt at a moment where you have such support, from Candace Lee and Chancellor Diermeyer, that everyone's aligned towards pushing this department forward. And certainly as a part of that, we become, as a football program in the SEC, we become the flag bearers for the university in a lot of ways, the front porch. And to have their efforts behind this is so meaningful, and I feel so fortunate. As far as the facilities, like you mentioned, we're going to be probably a couple of years away from actually existing in those structures, but that gives me time to prepare this team for the new digs. We have to earn it. We have to make sure the team is prepared to handle that the right way, that we respect and appreciate everything that comes with being a part of this program, and that through our work and through our effort here, and until those buildings are built, that we'll have earned the right to use them, and what great resources they'll be as far as our ability to sustain success here and to be competitive from a recruiting standpoint, because Vanderbilt football needs to be about not compromising on any area. We want this to be a football decision for players too. And so when you talk about new facilities, you talk about resources, you talk about developmental resources, and you envision a program where, a young person can come here valuing the education they're going to receive, entering an environment where they're going to invest in that education every day, so that it'll pay dividends for them long term, but also, having the full force of this university and the resources that this university has behind them in their football efforts too, because we believe that football is a classroom in and of itself, and being a part of this program is an education, and we feel like these facilities will go a long way in allowing us to reach a sustainability that'll be really exciting.
We're talking to Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's football coach, as they get ready for their spring game on Saturday and wrapping up spring practices. So along those lines, Coach, we know that you wanted this job, and your connections to Vanderbilt and how important it was for you to come in here and be the head football coach. But in your conversations with Candace and with Chancellor Diermeyer before you took the job, how important was it for you to kind of hear the plan and know the plan that we now all know that has been announced, but to kind of have an idea of the new direction that this university was going to go from an athletics point of view?
Well, it was important insofar that I felt like I had reached the point in my career where I didn't necessarily need to leave to take a job. This was an emotional place for me, and I was well aware of that. So I was really just trying to look at it strategically and say, is this the right thing for me at this time? And I just, obviously, I believe in Vanderbilt football. I believe in this university. I believe in the potential here. I've always believed in it. And yet, knowing that this project was on the books was just a sign that, this is real for everyone involved. This is serious. This is going to be about how can we find a way to tap into our potential. And, as a coach, as a person, as a competitor, you just want to know that you're going to be able to go in and lock arms with people and go at something really, really hard. And, that's just exciting. To me, this is a legacy job. This is something that I have the opportunity to connect with my staff in this department and this administration and just go as hard as we can at building this program to the level we know it can sustain. And I don't know, that energizes me every single day. And so it was important. I mean, obviously I had interest in this job beyond project, and I knew the work that needed to be done started with the people involved and transformation within each person in this program. But obviously the facilities helped in terms of just knowing that, everyone is bought into this and everyone wants it to be successful.
One guy that you have on your staff as Director of Player Development is somebody we all know, a superstar at Vanderbilt, and Earl Bennett. How number one, how excited were you when you were able to pull that off to have him there? But how much of an impact are you expecting him to make as being a member of your staff?
Earl has been such an important hire for me in so many ways. I didn't know Earl. I knew of him, obviously, and I think more importantly, he had followed my career closely as a fullback here. He had always felt like number two. He wore the 29 jersey when he was growing up, I think. But no, I followed Earl's career. He was obviously wildly successful here as a player, had an NFL career, but I never had a chance to cross paths with him. And so, as I was looking to fill that role, there were a lot of things that I wanted. I wanted someone who had played here. I wanted someone who could really understand from the perspective of a student athlete what the experience here is like. I wanted someone who had navigated this campus to a certain level of success, and I wanted someone that had, enough success on the football field to be seen as a mentor and to kind of, as we build trust, just to, validate the relationship early on. And Charlotte Siegel actually recommended that I call Earl. I got on the phone with him, and it was instant connection, instant chemistry, instant alignment with respect to, what can be done here at Vanderbilt and how it needs to be done. And then I have, since the day he walked in this building, that relationship has blossomed. I've leaned on him in so many ways. And so there's a lot of factors there. It's the player experience. It's everything that goes into being a student athlete here. It's mentoring our players. It's being a connector for them, someone who's not wearing a whistle, someone who's around every day watching every practice, can give perspective but isn't making decisions on playing time. All the hard conversations we've had to have at times here, Earl's been by my side and has helped buffer that and helped follow up with that. He has been an asset in recruiting. He's obviously got his hands in our external operation and networking with our alums, and then has set up opportunities for our team to network with local alums who've reached levels of success in their industries. So, as far as building the best student-athlete experience in the country, and that is what this is about at Vanderbilt, we feel like we can become the model for what it means to be the value of the student-athlete experience and to really to cherish that and to hold it in high regard. Earl has been such a critical part of us in the early goings of that mission.
Keeping with the theme here of members of your staff that have worn that Vanderbilt jersey before, Norvell McKenzie is no stranger to it as he coaches running backs, and the running back position is one that I think a lot of people are interested in to see what happens there. But what kind of energy has he brought early on in the spring?
Norvell has been fantastic. He's passionate about our university. The thing that's been fun for me, Norv and I had obviously a close relationship here as players. And then, we stayed in contact as we moved forward, just touching base once a year and kind of connecting. And it was always a close personal relationship, but I didn't know a whole lot about him as a coach. I knew him to be very capable, very smart, but watching him work with that running back group has been so energizing to me. He's tough. He's demanding. He complements that with interpersonal skills, and he's probably had the hardest job of anybody this spring. We're right now. He's got two guys that are healthy, so we've considered suiting Norvell up, though they're not quite sure that he could make it through. But yeah, it's been fun to watch, and obviously I celebrate the fact that I'm witnessing a teammate of mine, reaching a level of heights in his career in this profession. Just proud of that. I'm proud to be with him. I'm proud to have him here with us. And again, another guy that has a ton of love for Vanderbilt and what it can do for young people.
I know you've been accessible to this show, and we appreciate it since you've been hired. I've also been told by several people that you've been very accessible to people. You're a very approachable guy. That is much needed, and that tells me you get it. You understand what you've signed up for, and I just wanted to pass it along that there's a lot of people like myself that appreciate that. What is your game, 11 o'clock, black and gold game on 11 o'clock on Saturday? Is that right?
11 o'clock, rain or shine. We'll be out there working. Would love to have everyone come out if available. And listen, I appreciate your thoughts there. This, my vision is that Vanderbilt becomes stitched into the community of Nashville, that this becomes a team that Nashville can get behind. I know, obviously, being a Nashvilleian, what it means to be a part of this city. And, my efforts right now are on building a team that reflects the personality of our community. And so I appreciate the plug, and we'll look forward to seeing people out, and certainly look forward to engaging with the community moving forward as a program.
Should be a great day. Clark, thank you so much for doing this. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Y'all take care. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. Their black and gold spring game will be at 11 o'clock on Saturday, and it'll be streamed on SEC Network Plus if you want to check it out. We'll come back on the other side, more of Darren, Daunic, and Chase. But first, Chase is going to tell you about some bets.
I am, and not Mookie, even though we love Mookie. Baseball players, speaking of Mookie, may not get style points for home runs, but baseball bettors do. So pay attention to this. New BetMGM customers can turn $1 into $100 when someone goes yard during a game. Sign up for the BetMGM app using the bonus code 1025game100, and if you place a $1 moneyline wager on the Braves or the Marlins, you'll get $100 if either team hits a home run. That easy. And after the baseball has left the park, there's no reason for you to leave your seat. Discover BetMGM's innovative parlay selection builders, daily promotions, boosted odds specials, and more. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025game100 to win $100 when you bet on the Braves or the Marlins and either team hits a home run. Swing for the fences with BetMGM, the king of sportsbook. New customer offer, paid and free bets. You must be 21 years or older, must be in Tennessee. Visit BetMGM.com for a full list of terms and conditions. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Don't forget, coming up to kick off the third hour, we'll talk a little NFL draft. Today is exactly 2 weeks out from the NFL draft. We'll talk to our man Dan Shanka. Always good to talk to him from Our Loud Scouting Service. If you don't get pumped up after listening to Dan talk about players, well, I guess the NFL draft just isn't for you, because he brings it. He's full of energy, and he brings it. So we're looking forward to talking to Dan coming up at high noon. Darren McFarland and Chase McCabe with you. Willie will join us in just a bit. What do you think? What do you guys think of the ruling yesterday after we got off the air? The NCAA has passed that you can have a one-time transfer, which will allow athletes to transfer immediately and be eligible.
Well, number one, there was no way they were putting the genie back in the bottle.
Because You're right.
They allowed that, and they used COVID as the reason.
But it was, by the way, I'm just saying, it was voted unanimously, which the NCAA, I mean, when do they ever vote? One, it always takes them about 30 years to vote anything. And when they finally do pass something, unanimously. So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I'm not surprised it was unanimous. I have always been in support of a rule like this, because I believe that when you make a decision as an 18-year-old kid, you're going to change your mind, and you're going to get into a situation, and there's going to be new circumstances. And we also know that how recruiting works and how coaches recruit, of like, they'll promise something but they're also promising that same thing to 4 other people at the same position. And, at 18 years old, maybe you know that, or you think you know that, but you really don't know that until you get into the situation. And, for some, you're going to Alabama because since you were 3 years old, you wanted to go to Alabama. For some, you're going because you want to play for Nick Saban or the receivers coach or whatever. There are a lot of different reasons, but I do believe being allowed to have one, and that's what I've always said. You get one. The others, there's consequences. You have to sit out unless there is a family situation or what have you. But everybody gets one. And if you go, if I'm a 4-star recruit or whatever, and I go and I sign with Tennessee and I get there for a year and I don't like it, or my coach leaves that I really liked or whatever, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm fine with it. I know that it has opened up a completely different door. Herm Edwards was on with us several months ago and talked about that you're essentially setting up free agency in college sports, and you are. And that's going to add a different layer to things. But it's also going to add a different layer to recruiting, because I think the coaches are going to have to keep that in the back of their mind that, if I promise this kid something that I know I'm probably not going to be able to deliver on, then they're probably going to leave. So I think it is a complete game changer, but I like it. I'm totally cool with the rule.
I mean, like you said, it's already been going on. I mean, it's virtually impossible to keep up with the transfer portal these days. And you're right. Once, that ship left the port, they were never getting that. They were never going to see that ship again, right? I mean, give me a break. It is out in the middle of the ocean. There's no way it's coming back to port. So you can't. But like I said, we can all think that and know that. But for the NCAA to actually do something for a change, rather than they're always sleeping at the wheel until somebody comes and knocks on the door and tells them to get up and go do something. I just didn't expect this to happen. But look, I think what's been unfair is to always paint the picture, and the coaches are, they're the number one on this list of the people that paint this picture. That we need to teach these kids, to not be, you can't just quit, just because it's not going your way and bounce. And so they always paint the picture, well, since he's not starting, then these kids want to bounce. Like, this is not about just a situation where I'm not the starter and therefore I'm leaving. There's a whole lot of circumstances that go into this. Like you said, you're asking people to make decisions at 17 and 18 years old and expect them to stick with it. Like they're not allowed. Oh, how many of you out there changed your major? Oh, did you just pick your major the first time and never changed it? Really? I mean, how many college students never change their major? I would say that's in the minority. Don't you think?
Sure, absolutely.
Did you change yours?
No, I didn't. Actually.
Elijah?
Oh, I changed my major twice and changed schools. So yeah, I absolutely did.
I would say, Chase, you're in the minority.
Oh, and I already knew that.
Never changed
I already knew that.
their major. I mean, come on. So what? You're not allowed to change your major? You get into it, you get into school, and you're like, you know what? No, that's not actually what I'm going to – like, you're allowed to do that freely. And some people – man, I knew people that changed their major every semester, it felt like. So you're asking a kid at 17 or 18 years old to make a decision for the next 4 years and stick with it no matter what? Come on. That's unfair. That's totally unfair. And, you know, some kids go to school, you know, they're a kid from Kansas and they commit to Georgia and they get to Athens and you know what? They're just homesick and they want to go back to Kansas and click their heels and, you know, go back home. I just want to go back home. And that's okay.
Well done.
It's okay to do that. But, you know, you're acting like everybody's supposed to have the same story. Like,
right.
I arrive as a freshman, and this is where I will be the next 4 years, and everything is going to be great. Well, that sounds great. That's not reality. And so they're allowed to change their mind. And, yes, some kids will get mad. You know, forget this coach.
Sure.
I should be playing, and I'm leaving. Okay, that's right. That will happen. And guess what? That's okay. And sometimes it'll work out and it'll be a good decision, and sometimes it'll be a bad decision. And they'll have to learn the hard way. Well, guess what? That's life. Yeah, and then they'll get to hear, you know, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? That'll be the first time they get that, and they'll roll their eyes and, yeah. Well,
and then the grass isn't greener.
Well, I'm saying that's what'll happen when they do make that change and they get there, and, you know, people are like, oh, it's not, or the kid goes, oh, well, I'm not happy here either.
Yeah.
And that's when a family member or a friend or somebody, that's when they get the first big dose of, I told you, son, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And that's, you know, then that's when the eye rolling begins. But guess what? It'll just be a life lesson. Is that such a bad thing? A life lesson? No, I don't think so. I just think they should have the right to, and oh, by the way, if coaches can change, if a new staff comes in and that's not the staff that recruited you, you should have the right to leave because maybe you don't jive with the new staff. Now, if the coach really wants you, it's up to them to convince you why you should stay and why they'll make it worth your while. That's their job. But, you know, there's coaches that come in and staffs that come in and they just look at a kid on film or whatever and they say, this kid just he just doesn't fit what we do. And so shouldn't that kid be allowed to go somewhere else?
I think so. I mean, we're clearly on the same page on this one, and you know, I understand all the side effects that could come from it, but I think they got this
What are
right.
the side effects?
Well, like you said, you know, you will have more movement.
Okay.
And so you know, but I'm okay with it.
And you're already seeing it. I mean, in college basketball, they've already broken a record with transfers or names in the transfer portal. So I feel like the side effects you're already seeing. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with it. I have a spreadsheet of right now 200 names of players swapping schools, and it is exhausting. But it is hard to keep up with. But I mean, the side effects that we're alluding to are something that's already happening right now. So
think about it.
If we can live with it, then I think we can move on, and it's a good thing for the sport.
Like you said, we've already been living with it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what
Not
it is
to this
now.
level.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Hey, Willie, I saved your spot for you.
Oh, welcome
Such a smooth entry into the
show.
Hold on. Here comes the press pot in this conversation. This is where he's going to poo-poo everything.
Okay. Do we need to take a timeout and then let him poo-poo it?
You guys do whatever you want. You guys know how I feel about it. I haven't changed.
I know, but it's fun. It's fun when you come in and you throw a wet blanket on it.
Well, you guys just want the Wild West. Go anywhere you want. And Elijah just told you the transfer portal. They need to come up with a bigger name. It's like it's not a portal anymore. It's like a big landfill.
The Stargate.
It's a landfill.
Space station.
What? It's not garbage, Willie.
There's too many people in there.
Stargate.
That's funny.
That's probably a better word.
The transfer galaxy? Is that what you want?
Yeah, it's a galaxy.
All right, then let's do that. We'll step away. We'll come back, wrap up the second hour next. Willie's transfer radar must have went off. The sirens must have started sounding whenever we started talking about the transfer portal.
Well, what started the conversation?
Well, yesterday after we got off the air, that basically it's been passed by the NCAA. A unanimous vote. Can you imagine? The NCAA, a unanimous vote in favor of allowing athletes the one-time transfer. They don't have to sit out a season. And I guess they're supposed to get final approval today, but everybody's reporting that, it looks like this is what it's going to be. And, it's already been going on, but They're basically it's going to be official, a new rule where kids will have the opportunity, a one-time transfer, and they don't have to sit out, and that's that. Kind of like what we've been talking about already.
So you're you're against it because you think it'll be the Wild Wild West.
I think it should be modified. I don't think it should be just a free transfer. I think there's got to be an in-between because it's already out of control. I just don't think as a coach you should have to re-recruit every single one of your players every single year until they transfer.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, I get that.
I mean, there's such a
what's
thing
the
called
in-between
team
then?
building. You build a team. Like you've never not been able to transfer. You just have to sit out a year. You don't lose a year of eligibility. You just have to sit out a year.
Right, but I don't think it's gonna. I mean, yes, you're gonna have more transfers. I don't deny that, but I don't think you're necessarily gonna have to re-recruit the whole team every year, like maybe you're thinking. You're going to have guys that number one, there's no chance they're leaving because that's where they want to be, and two, you know that you have guys that they know they have their spot, and that's what it is. I really think it's a handful of players that, are going to have reasons where it's just like it's not the fit, or like we were talking about, yes, you're going to have some that just get mad and they leave. You're going to have family stuff, but it's not going to be it's not like you're going to have 50 players transferring from each school every year.
What about the kid from the state of Washington that commits to Tennessee and just gets to Knoxville after a semester or two and just says, I'm homesick. I want to go home. This is too far. I've been on the west side
most
of the
freshmen. Most freshmen in college.
Is that okay, though? I mean,
yeah, it's part of life, man. You go to
West
college
Coast their whole life, and
everybody
they're like,
gets
this
homesick
is not
a little
for
bit.
me. Agreed, but
sounds like I don't know. There's a lot of people in that boat. I'm going Tubby Smith on this one. I think you got to give me a little more than I'm homesick.
Well, didn't Tubby move around like it was his job too? I mean, it's not like Tubby Smith is notorious for staying in the same spot his entire career.
But I think some of that wasn't
coaches.
his decision.
Everybody makes that equivalency.
That's not true, though. Most of the time, it was his decision.
Yeah.
I don't have an equivalency like a lot of people do on that in terms of it's the same as a coach bouncing around. It's not the same.
Why?
Most coaches get fired because they get fired. That's why they're gone. It's not because they leave to get another job. It's much more often that they're going to get canned because the team hasn't done very well.
So that kid that recruited that kid that just committed to Chris Beard at Texas Tech and has decided to go spend his time in Lubbock because of the coach, not because of Lubbock or not because of Texas Tech, because of Chris Beard and how successful he's been. He's supposed to stick it out the next 4 years while Chris Beard is in Austin?
That's what happened to me.
I didn't ask. Is that? I mean, that's 25 years ago. Is that okay now?
It's more than 25.
Well, I'm trying to be nice.
31 years ago.
All right, I'm trying to be nice, and you just
32 years ago.
You're making it worse.
Well, what I'm saying is it happens, and this is what I've said all along. If it's about Lubbock, then it's not. Then it's about Lubbock. Don't go to Lubbock.
But he wants to play for Chris Beard. He's successful. The program's really good under Chris Beard.
But that's not what you should do. That should be part of the equation, not the whole equation. You have to know going in, your coach is very possibly not going to be there the entire 4 years that you're there. If you're going to a school and thinking that, it's bad thinking.
So you want
planning.
A 17 or 18-year-old to decide and go, well,
rational.
Yeah, well, you have to factor in this coach might not be there the whole time. And
yes, that's pretty easy.
Come on.
They've never watched college basketball before?
Come on. That's
you don't follow college basketball? You're a college basketball
unfair.
Division I athlete that's being recruited by one of the top programs in the country, and you don't understand that maybe the coach may not be there for 4 years?
Totally
That's pretty
unfair.
naive.
That's totally. And why should a kid have to be punished for the coach leaving? They have to sit out a year? When it doesn't work out?
No, he doesn't have to sit out a year. Just go to Texas Tech and play for the new guy.
What if he doesn't like the new guy? And he goes to Texas Tech and says, this is not for me.
Well, you have a right to choose that.
Right. You can leave and sit out a year. You don't lose a year of eligibility.
So that's on them to sit out a year. They get punished.
There's no punishment. What's the punishment?
They sit out a year.
You don't sit out a year. You don't lose a year of eligibility. You just you go to the next school. Yes, you don't play the next year, but you don't lose you just have an extra year on the back end.
Right, but you still have to sit out.
You sit out.
Like,
that's not the worst thing in the world. Ask a lot of people that transferred.
Boo.
What?
We're not going to
Listen,
agree on this.
you look at the Vanderbilt teams that I played for, some of the best players on the team were transfers who, you know what, they sat out a year. You know what, they lived. They actually went through it. I went through it with them while I watched them sit out. They actually got better. They had a year to get acclimated to the school. And then the following year, and then as fifth-year seniors, they were outstanding players. They were all league players.
Yeah, and you know what? I used to watch movies on VCRs, and I used to watch television.
What is different? There's nothing different about it.
It doesn't mean I want to go back and do that. Just because we did something doesn't mean I want to have everybody keep doing that just because we did it.
So fifth-year seniors aren't a part of sports today? There aren't a lot of great fifth-year seniors on teams that are helping them win?
It helped
those
Baylor.
won't go away.
Baylor had an experienced team.
Oh, really? Yeah. There's some fifth-year seniors out there that are great players. You're older than everybody else. It helps.
And a transfer that was allowed to play immediately.
Baylor had a 24-year-old.
Now, the fifth-year graduate transfer, that's a different thing. That I 100% agree with. That's 100% I'm in agreement with that. You should not have to transfer and sit out a year when you graduate because you graduated. I don't have a problem with that.
All right, we'll come back. Third hour with Dan Shaka, NFL Draft. It's 2 weeks away. That's next. Third hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on ESPN 102.5, The Game on this just absolutely gorgeous Thursday here in Middle Tennessee. Don't forget, you don't want to miss our draft coverage. Yes, the draft is in 2 weeks, starting on Thursday, April 29th, and Friday, April 30th. We will have all of your draft coverage right here on 102.5 The Game with some awesome shows. That's presented by Founders Brewery, Apple Collision Centers, and MTGRT.com, your live and local mortgage expert. We love our chats with Dan Shaka, our lad scouting service. Dan always brings it, and he's going to bring it again today. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Darren and crew.
I want to start here because I love your energy and your passion. As I said earlier in the show, if you can't get hooked on the draft when listening to Dan Chalk on our show, then it's not for you. You know, I'm kind of tired of talking about Zach Wilson. Is he really the number 2 pick? I'm kind of tired of all that. So as we sit here 2 weeks out, you know, A.J. Brown went in the second round. Kevin Byard went in the third round. I think Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott were drafted in the fourth round. Give us a couple of guys out there that are going to be drafted in the middle rounds that happen all the time that turn out to be superstars or just really, really good players. Because I think sometimes when we go through this draft talk, after a while, like I'm just tired of talking about the top 5 picks. So maybe some middle round guys that you are really high on. Where would you go with that?
Well, I tell you what, Darren, I don't know that obviously there'll be developmental guys, and I think that interesting guy, I mean, you know, he may go higher than we have him. We have him in the middle rounds. We got him like a low third, and that's Davis Mills out of Stanford. You know, he only played 11 games, and he's got the tools. He was the number 1 player out of Georgia. I don't know what it is. Georgia's got something in the water down there because they've been throwing out those number 1 quarterbacks in high school left and right. And but anyway, Davis Mills was super highly recruited and ended up going to Stanford and ran a pro-style offense there. So, you know, he's a guy that I think that's real interesting. A guy that I personally like, he's late, but he's not probably going to ever be a starter in the league unless it's, you know, somebody gets injured. But I really like him because he's just a real smart guy and is very efficient, and that's Peyton Ramsey from Northwestern. He's just, you know, he doesn't do anything electric, but he's just steady, consistent. You know what you're going to get. You put him out there in the field, and he's going to, you know, move the ball around. He's not going to make mistakes, things like that. But we got him probably in the 7th round area. A guy that's got some talent now, but man, alive, it's like a seismograph when you look at his statistics and things. And but Zach Smith out of Tulsa, he's got all the tools, but the minute you say, man, that guy's really, oh, what did you do, Zach? You know, he's got the NFL arm. He got NFL size. He did not run great his pro day, which was disappointing. And he was always behind at the start of the game, but then the second half, he'd go put his cape on and get out of the phone booth and throw, you know, 3 touchdown passes or whatever. You go, is this the same guy that I just got done? You know, I mean, it's like unbelievable because, you know, you see his arm strength. I saw him live, and, I mean, he's got a big-time NFL arm, but he's just his inconsistency is maddening. But, you know, like you say, Darren, if he's one of those kind of guys, you sit on the bench, salt him away a little bit, you know, maybe you can get something out of him because he does definitely have some tools. So, and I think, you know, athletically, people like Kellen Mond from Texas, a pretty good athlete, and a lot of the SEC teams have seen him out there being at Texas A&M, and he started for 4 years, which, you know, is a good thing. And but he has to level out that consistency too. He is smart. He's very confident, you know, and he understands the game. He's got really good awareness and everything. So, you know, he may be one of those guys that could come up and bite you maybe in a couple years.
Gosh, that's why I love you. I swear I was going with Kellen Mond next. That's exactly where I was going. That's unbelievable, Dan. I'll just tell you right now, I don't get this sudden surge for Kellen Mond when I listen to the so-called experts and read this stuff. Like I've watched him at Texas A&M for a long. Like there's and these guys know how many times I've come on here. And every time we talk about Texas A&M, well, just tell me which Kellen Mond is going to show up. I'll tell you what the Aggies are going to do. One week he looks spectacular. The next week it's like he's just too inconsistent. If he's that inconsistent in college, how do we expect that to change in the NFL? Me personally, I'm not proclaiming to be the expert. Dan, that's why you're on here. I don't understand the surge in Kellen Mond talk. People moving him up the draft boards like he's going to be all of a sudden something different at the NFL level. That's one I've been scratching my head on.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because it's just, the thing is, I think some analysts are just getting bored out there, and so to try to push the needle or whatever, they throw something out like that. But it doesn't change. I mean, you are what you are, and as you guys know, a few years ago, I said I wouldn't take Sam Darnold if you gave him to me. You know what I mean? And nobody listened, thought I was off base on that one. But hey, he did exactly for the Jets what he did at SC. He was a turnover machine. And going to Carolina ain't going to help him any. I mean, you are what you are. If you're not seeing things out there, moving across in front of your eyes and face, then you're going to have problems. So I think Sam's a linebacker playing quarterback is basically what he is.
I want to go back on something because I don't remember our discussions this time last year, and I'm with you. And look, you shows like this, you talk for 4 hours a day live, and you go, you live with what you say, and if it turns out to be different, then you come on here. At least this is my thinking. And you just say, "Hey, I was wrong about him." Like right now, it's still early, but I've admitted I'm wrong about Justin Herbert. I would not have taken Justin Herbert when they did, and I was like, yeah, good luck with that pick. And he's turned out to be different. Now, I have also said, and these guys know, that while everything, he's going to check all the boxes like personality, leadership, great guy, everything you want. Jalen Hurts is going to check all the boxes. But I said, just watching him and his ability, or I think inability, to throw consistently and to throw what it takes to throw at the NFL level, I don't see it. He's now going to he's going to get the opportunity to be the everyday starter in Philadelphia. I still am a doubter. It's not like I'm rooting against him. I'm just trying to be honest. I just don't think he's good enough week in and week out at the NFL level, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. What were you saying this time last year about Jalen Hurts?
Well, we had him in the second round, and there's a lot of things that I really liked about him, Darren. I mean, I think that, anybody that could, be at Alabama, two storied programs like Alabama and Oklahoma, and do the things he did, because when he went into Oklahoma, he had to learn a whole new offense, and he was, actually spectacular there, and things that he did. And, he's got a strong arm. He's got the intelligence, he's got the mobility, and everybody wants a quarterback that's mobile, and he's mobile. So, we had him in the second round, and I thought that he was a really good developmental quarterback, because he did have the tools of being able to throw and things, and he did have nice touch. And I studied him at both places, and he was a mature kid. So I think there was a lot of things that were pointing up, more so than pointing down in his, ability to play, in the NFL.
We were talking to Dan Shanka from Our Lads, and always enjoy our conversations with him when it comes to the draft. A local product, obviously, in Trey Smith in Tennessee, but an offensive lineman, as the Titans will look at the O-line at some point in the draft. But my question mainly just on Trey Smith in general and what he is. What is the gap between, being a solid player, maybe a depth player, to actually being, something in the NFL? Not necessarily elite, but really good. Where do you think he is on that spectrum?
I think he's really good. Obviously the only the sticky wicket is, the blood clots that he had a couple years ago. Is that something that's going to come back, or is he okay? I'm sure that, all the doctors checked him out, you have to be probably on some certain medication or what have you. And maybe, I don't know that he is. I've never seen the medical report. I don't know, but we like him a lot. We think he's a terrific football player. We think he's going to go in and start, at one of the inside guard positions. A powerful guy. He basically, despite that year he had to set out, he had 40 career starts, which is outstanding. He's got those big, strong hands, long arms, tough kid. He's really good on down blocks. Liked him there, comboed off the second level to seal, the backside pursuit and things. So I think that, he's probably going to end up being in that, we got him right now at the top of the third. If he went in the late second, it wouldn't bother, it wouldn't shock me, because I think there's only probably 2 guards maybe graded ahead of him, maybe 3. We got Leatherwood as a guard. We kicked him inside, and we actually got Trey Smith graded ahead of Alex Leatherwood from Alabama, just right ahead of him. But I think that, Trey Smith can be an outstanding offensive lineman.
Well, and that was going to be my next. So you think he's for sure a day 2 guy? I
do. I really do. I think he's going to – I don't think he'll get out of the third, unless, like I said, if it's a medical deal. You know what I mean? But other than that, physically and all that, no, I think he will not get out of the second day.
Kind of in the same breath of Darren's question, some offensive linemen, most notably, I guess, a tackle for the Titans. What are some that may go day 2, possibly day 3, that you think could make an impact?
Well, a guy that I really like, and unfortunately he didn't work out great, but he worked out great on the field when he played Chase Young, and that's Jalen Mayfield. And, I had Jalen in the first round since, day 1, I guess, and but I had to kind of back off a little bit athletically, but in regards to his toughness, playing square, being really good in pass pro, he was a star there, but he didn't get many games in. Michigan didn't play many this past year. And the year before, like I said, you throw on the Chase. Chase Young was kind of our, we're looking at offensive linemen, whether it was Slater, who's going to go in the first round, or, other tackles in the Big Ten. That was our bar to look at. And if they did well and could block Chase Young or single block him like Mayfield, then he was our guy. But I think another guy that I think he would be an excellent Titan is Dylan Raditz from North Dakota State. He's a really smart, tough guy that he would really fit in with what the Titans are trying to do and being physical up front and everything. And he's a very athletic guy, and he was really good at the Senior Bowl. So he saw some of the top talent in the country and stepped up and was outstanding in pass protection. Yeah, again, here's a guy that moves his feet really well. He's very athletic, and like I said, and another thing is he's a very physical guy. He's first of all, if you're up in North Dakota State, what being physical is. He's probably took a dog sled to school up there, and so he's a tough nut. But he's one that I think would be nice for Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa, another guy that's a really athletic. He's 6'8" and change, 315 pounds. He ran 4.94, and he put it up. Now, believe it or not, here's a guy that with 34-inch arms, he put it up 29 times too. So here he's a strong, athletic guy that's an ascending player. Another tough physical player. I know people got him higher than we do. We got him in that, second round, maybe top of the third area because he's on the ground too much. I don't like that, but I do like his physicalness, and that's Kevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State. Very physical guy. He'll knock you right out of bounds and then jump on top of you. He's that kind of guy, but he's just not a great athlete, but he is super, super physical.
So with tight ends, we all know Kyle Pitts is that player you seek out. Like, that's the guy that if he's there, you'd be a fool to pass on him. But the other, some of the other tight ends in this class, I put in the you have your best player available whenever you get up to that pick, if I could spit it out. Are there some others, though, that you should pay attention to from the tight end position that, if that player is there, you're going to be very, very, very happy if you take him?
Yeah, I think Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame is a guy that is very well thought of. He didn't get a lot of play nationally because he was in that rotation at Notre Dame, and they got some excellent tight ends, and he was one of them. And but if he's there in that third round area, late, I don't know if he'll make it in the late second. He may, because he's a really good blocker and he does catch the ball well, even though he only caught 19 passes this year. But he was in a rotation up there, and he can run, and he's a stick to you kind of blocker. I mean, he's a high effort guy, so he'll be in that mix. Hunter Long out of Boston College is another one that's going to be. I'm going to guess he's going to be in that fourth round area somewhere. That. Maybe late third, but a big tight end that catches the ball well, blocks well. Nick Eubanks, again from Michigan, didn't get a lot of play, runs in the 4.6s. He's a Florida kid that's 6'4" and change and about 255, 260 pounds. Catches the ball really well, but there, you just don't get any stats at Michigan because, you're always rotating and they throw to everybody up there and they don't throw a lot to him. But Eubanks is another guy that would be a steal in the fourth round.
Talking to Dan Shonka from Our Scouting. And Dan, I wanted to ask you, I love going back through the lens like Darren did a little bit earlier on Jalen Hurts, but pushing it back even a little further, we had a great discussion yesterday about Jadeveon Clowney going to the Browns and some of the things that he said yesterday. And, I think he used the term, he feels like he's still elite. But that elite term, of course, can mean a lot of different things to different people. Certainly his 1 year with the Titans didn't go as well as everybody had hoped, right? But how would you evaluate him based on what you and everybody else thought when he was the first pick in the draft?
Well, the big thing about him was that length, athletic ability. I mean, he was the number one recruit forever when he was coming out of high school, and even his junior year, everybody's waiting to get him, and he goes in there and South Carolina, and he did a lot of good things athletically, but I always wondered if he had that heart to be a great player. I wonder if he challenged himself, and he not only didn't, as you guys know, at the Titans, he didn't do a great job of rushing the passer. He made a few good plays here and there, was disruptive at times, and his last couple of years at the Houston, he didn't do much, and so I think he's not elite. He can take that out of his, players like that have been told they're great their whole life. He still thinks he is great, but he's not. And I think Cleveland brought him in there as a rotation piece that he would be, one of maybe three defensive ends that will rotate, maybe four. If they got a NASCAR package, they put all of them out there and get after you. But he's not elite. He will make elite plays every so often, but in regards to his consistency, play in and play out, he picks his spots, and sometimes a guy like that can help you if he picks a spot at the right time where you got to get a sack, to get you in the Super Bowl.
And Dan, the other one I wanted to ask you about is you retweeted. Somebody had looked at the depth chart that you guys had put together on all the teams about tackles. Right now, of course, the Titans, and this will build off something I think you guys mentioned earlier. You were talking about Trey Smith from Tennessee, but the subject was tackles. The Titans right now are sort of in the same boat as they were going into last year. They drafted Isaiah Wilson. Now they don't have Dennis Kelly. They've got some veteran guys they feel like they could plug in at right tackle. But how easy is it if you don't use the first pick on a tackle, particularly a right tackle, to get him in the later rounds. Because there was an interesting graph that somebody showed at depth charts around the league. So how easy is it to get a guy that could plug in and start in the mid to late rounds at tackle?
Well, I think that this year, it always depends on the year. You know, some years it's going to be good. Some years it's not going to be. This year happens to be a real good year, and there's depth at that tackle position. And so, I mean, even a guy like Alaric Jackson, for instance, from Iowa, really, when he was a freshman, you know, you look at Tristan Wirfs and Alaric Jackson. Jackson's from Detroit and went to Iowa and started as a freshman along with Wirfs. And you'd say Jackson was the better of the two. But obviously, Tristan Wirfs passed him by, and Jackson kind of took a step back. And but he still got that length. He's still got athletic ability. But he's probably going to go in the fourth round. And he's 6'5", and he's about 318 pounds. A guy from Stanford by the name of Foster Sarrell, he came out this year. It kind of surprised me that he came out, but he's a real smart guy. Again, a 6'6", 320-pound athletic guy that's very smart, learns quickly. He's going to be in that fourth-round area. Tommy Doyle from Miami of Ohio, 6'8", 318. Runs well, a very good athlete. I think athletically he's one of the top 3 tackles in this draft. If you just, you know, we grade him athletically, and he was one of the top 3 or 5 offensive tackles out there when you combine everybody's pro day and that stuff, since we didn't have a combine. But, you know, with the process that we use, he was there, and he's going to be, you know, one of those guys in the middle round. So, the answer to your question, hey, Walker Little from Stanford, another guy hadn't played in 2 years because last year the COVID, he sat out, and then he was injured late the year before, and which he was doing really well. But he's going to probably be, you know, in that area. So, but this is exception to the rule. You usually wouldn't have. So, if the Titans want to pull the trigger on an offensive tackle, he would be the guy, or those guys in this year. They could get one maybe in that middle 3rd to 5th round.
Gosh, the draft fix. That's what we just got. Who is excited for 2 weeks? I feel good. I'm so ready for 2 weeks from now. Dan, always appreciate it. Thank you so much for the visit. We'll chat soon.
You bet you guys. Anytime. Thanks a million.
Dan Shanka, Our Lad Scouting Service. If that doesn't get you in the mood for the NFL draft, we just can't help you. We just can't. Our draft outlook.
We do what we can. That's all we can do.
We do what we can. That is as good as it gets right there. Our draft outlook brought to you by Farm Bureau Health Plans and Apple Collision Centers. I'm going to talk to you about my friends at Cool Springs MD. Yeah, I've been going there for years. They've been helping me improve my quality of life for years, and they've been helping a lot of you here in Middle Tennessee. They've been around since 2007. Making a lot of you healthier and happier. Who doesn't want that as we all get a little bit older? And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge is right in the middle of all that. The board-certified physician, his wife Daphne, is the registered nurse, and their experienced staff over there at Cool Springs MD can help you in so many areas. They've got a state-of-the-art facility at 1642 Westgate Circle. If you haven't checked it out, man, they house a lot of things under one roof. And maybe you would like to get rid of some unwanted pounds. And that happens, right, as adults. And, you know, sometimes you get rid of them, and then a little bit later on in life, they comes back. And maybe that's something you're dealing with right now. Well, weight loss management is important to them. They've got programs and products and people that can get you headed in the right direction. Rejuvenation, when it comes to your appearance, that should always be important. And as we get older, it gets tougher. You can talk to them about PRP, hair removal, Botox, hormone replacement therapy. You know, maybe you've been feeling off lately. You've been you haven't had any drive or any energy, or just maybe you've had mood swings. So look, get your levels checked, because if they've dipped or they are at an all-time low, that can affect you in some or all of these areas. And you can talk to them about BHRT, testosterone, estrogen. Those are things that they can help you with. There's so many more things on the list. If you need to learn everything about them, go to their website, coolspringsmd.com. And if you need to schedule an appointment or a consultation, dial this number, 615-283-7291. That's 283-7291. We appreciate Dan Chonka for joining us. Our Lads Scouting Service, getting us ready for the draft, which is in 2 weeks. Don't forget, starting on Monday, you can listen to ESPN 102.5 The Game every weekday for your chance to win $1,000. It's the game's 1K payday. Listen for keywords at 9 o'clock in the morning during Robbie and Rex Road. At noon during Darren, Daunic, and Chase. And at 3 during Stillman and Company. When you hear it, go to thegamenashville.com and enter the keyword for a shot at $1,000. Back here on the DDC, do we think right now, gut feeling, John Robinson stays at 22 in picks, moves up, or moves down? The gut feeling 2 weeks out is what?
Gut feeling for me is he stays put.
Stays put.
And he picks at 22. I think there's virtually, I'm not going to say there's no chance, but pretty close to no chance that he moves up.
I would lean with you on that. I would say, to me, the category that finishes last is moving up. I do think there's a real shot moving down.
There's a chance. There is a chance. I think it depends on several things. Who's there? You know, if he hasn't made the move there and they're actually on the clock, like, okay, is there a player that they absolutely believe that if they don't take it 22, they're not going to get, that they absolutely have to have? So that's the biggest one. You know, what are the offers? You know, is it simply just move back a couple of spots and you add a second, you know, an extra pick somewhere? Because we know John does like to, you know, he likes his picks. He wants to stockpile, and especially with a draft like this, I think that you could see more movement. That's because there's a lot of talent. So I mean, he could dip into next year's draft and, you know, use a pick from next year's draft to try and move around in this one, and add more in this one. But I don't see him moving up.
I would say that. Let me just ask you guys, why do you think that you guys both said the same thing, that moving up is the least likely? But why? If you're trying to win this year, which I think they are, then why would you be so sure that you wouldn't move up if there's a guy that he really wants? He's done it before, right? He's moved up and moved down, right? Hasn't he done both?
Oh yeah, he's
moved up to get Jack Conklin. We know that.
He has shown a willingness to move up. He moved up.
He moved out of the number 1 pick.
What was the move?
That was the same draft.
Right, so technically that's moving. That's moving
He
down.
did.
That
I was
was
to
a
say, he answered it. He did both in the same draft.
Right. Didn't he move up to get Landry? He did, right? He
Correct.
traded.
He did.
To move it. I just think that there's a guy he likes. He's shown the willingness to do it, to go grab him. I don't know if it's always the smartest thing to do, but I wouldn't just immediately say he doesn't move up.
So you're right. You're 100% correct on what you just said about him, and if there's a guy that he likes, he's willing to go get it. With that said, he also knows that because of, you know, in win now mode and in trying to win this year, there's so much talent in this draft that I don't think he wants to give up a pick to move up. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't want to give up assets, even though that would move up for him to get a player.
Now, that would be a reason. That would be a reason.
But I don't think he wants to give those assets up. Now, if you're robbing from next year, if you know, he's able to work a deal where it's like, hey, I'll give you a pick from next year's draft to move up, then that's one thing. But I don't think he wants to give up any of his picks, you know, and lose a pick. It's only to gain this year.
Did they just get an extra pick from the Clowney signing, or is that not until next year?
I'm not sure on that.
No, because Clowney said he did not agree with the scheme that they ran last year, that they are not going to award them a pick.
That's a shame.
Once again, I go back. I just keep listening to the Clowney comments, and I'm like, did I miss something? Where did it change in free agency? I thought the player gets to pick where he wants to go, and they're supposed to pick what makes sense for them. And I thought the whole Vrabel relationship, and you know what he brings to the table, I thought that played a factor in all of that. And now he's questioning basically everything that happened last year. So I still continue to be confused on Jadeveon Clowney's comments from yesterday. He brought up the scheme. He didn't. Now he's questioning the scheme, which, I will say this. He seems like he's not the first player to kind of bring that up, right?
Well, the scheme is going to be different, I think. With Jim Schwartz coming in, the players are going to be different. I would think there's going to be some tweaks there, but I think that is all the more reason to ask, do you get an extra pick with him gone? That's one thing, and then the other is
I can give you I have that answer.
Yeah.
Do we have that clip, by the way? Do we have
the
the clip of him saying that? Elijah, do we have the clip?
So we're going away
He's
from
looking.
the are they moving up or moving down question.
No,
to
So here
We're not going away from it.
they do not get a compensatory pick for Clowney because he signed so late.
Really?
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Why is that? I mean, what difference
Do
does
they
it
get
make
one for
whether
next
he
year?
signed in March or August?
It doesn't say about next year. What I have pulled up, this is from USA Today. The Titans had 3 players count against the compensatory pick formula last offseason in Jack Conklin, Marcus Mariota, and Vic Beasley per over the cap. Clowney did not count because of how late he signed. Mariota and Beasley both received similar money and warranted a 5th-round comp pick but canceled each other out, with Beasley coming to Nashville and Mariota leaving for Vegas. The big difference here was Conklin. That's how they get that third pick, or 3rd-round pick.
So how many picks do they have total?
9.
9, and is there a round that they don't have? They have the extra 3rd?
So they have the 1st, the 2nd.
2 thirds.
2 thirds, a 4th, a 5th, and 7th. And the 7th was swapped with
Miami.
Yeah.
So they have no 6th. I'm trying to remember what happened to the 6th. Was that for the guy from San Diego? Why am I forgetting his? The defensive back.
Oh, they
have 2 6-rounders.
King that they brought in? They did trade it for?
Desmond King.
Yeah.
Did they trade a draft pick for him?
Yeah, actually, the 7th rounder that they got this year, because I believe they gave a 7th rounder from next year
Isaiah
for
Wilson.
Isaiah, and so they didn't have a 7th rounder because they had traded it.
So they do have some extra picks to work with.
Correct. They have a pick in every round, and they have 2 picks in the 3rd and the 6th.
By the way, going back to, you brought up the elite thing with Dan Shanka on Clowney. We were trying to figure out, and I threw out, just guessing because we didn't know the guaranteed money yesterday. I said it's about $8 million because it was worth up to 10. It's actually $7 million. It's not even 8. $7 million is guaranteed. I don't believe he's elite. I don't know what world he thinks he's. You're not an NFL at that position. You're not elite if you just got a 1-year $7 million guaranteed. You're not elite.
He's out to prove you wrong, Darren. That's what he's letting everybody know. He wants to. In fact, I think did he not. Maybe we should play the clip. Did he mention you, Darren? I think he said, "I just want to let Darren McFarland, everybody know.
Don't think so.
I'm still elite."
If he did, we'll have shirts made up.
We got to keep up with the Joneses, right? With the T-shirts.
We're vibing on that.
I mean, other shows are getting T-shirts.
Right.
We got to come up with something.
We'll have a shirt if he did. I do believe, though, we have the scheme that he brought up that he questioned.
Wait, I have to find that one. I have the one pulled up from where he was talking about the wins. That one specifically.
No. We're talking about the scheme. Oh well, we're searching, we're efforting. So we both say no on moving up. Willie questions that, says why not?
I'll tell you what. If we had a pick 6 kind of thing, if you give me
that's over. I'm the champion.
Stay.
Double points?
If you give me stay at their spot or move up or move down, do you think that's more of a 50-50 proposition?
Move up would be worth 2 points.
Yeah,
but would you give me the option of up or down, I win, and you guys take stay? I think I might put my chips on move up or down.
I don't like that category. No. I mean,
you have to have 3 categories, you're saying.
Yeah, because I think moving down, I said I could see that in the cards. Moving down 3 or 4 spots and moving up in the 2nd round. Maybe he would like to move up a little bit in the second round.
If you take if you make one category as move up or down, then stay is worth 2 points. That's how I look at that. Because you're getting.
Maybe we just need to have a one-off pick 6 with draft stuff.
No, I'm the champion.
You think stay was worth more points than moving up or moving down?
If you're putting moving up and moving down together.
Well, I'd probably then take stay for 2.
Yeah.
If it was worded like that, I'd probably take stay for 2.
So would I. But I think they stay. I think they pick at 22. Because I think there's going to be a player or players that they really, really, really like. And then I could see some wheeling and dealing for him to maybe try and move back into the first round.
The thing that has me thinking they're going to move is I think they have some pretty specific needs that if you look at the way they've gone about things in the offseason, you can identify the positions. And it's not just one position, but you can narrow it down to about 3 where they got to have something out of this draft to give themselves a chance, right?
I mean, no doubt.
I mean, somewhere in there you got to have a tackle. Somewhere in there you got to have a defensive back or 2. Somewhere in there you got to have a wide receiver, right? Where else would we say?
Tight end.
Tight end. Somewhere in there you got to get a tight end.
So
maybe that's an argument for moving down to get more picks so that you have volume at some of these positions.
You said tackle and receiver, tight end, corner. Got to have a corner.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay, corner.
Well, I said DB, but specifically corner.
I still would like to see them pick up an edge guy at some point.
Oh, I think so. Just maybe a little less of a priority than it was, but I think somewhere in there you need some young blood.
Yeah, and then everything else is a luxury.
So if there's a guy that you like, because remember Floyd did this one year, he moved up 1 spot. Didn't they swap with the Giants 1 spot?
Yes.
Yes,
they did.
Was that for Hainsworth?
They did.
Yep.
They moved up 1 spot to get Hainsworth, and then I think who was the tight end for Miami that was so good? Jeremy Shockey.
Yep.
And the Giants took him, right?
Was it the curse? Did they move?
And everybody
up
was like,
curse?
"Why did you need to move up 1 spot if you weren't going to take Shockey?" Because at the time
Floyd
Frank Wycheck was in his prime.
Floyd has told the story before about all these examples that you're bringing up. He has talked about those.
Yeah, because he's done it all. I mean, he did a million drafts. But I forget the story about why they moved up 1 spot and gave up something.
Didn't he almost pull the trigger because the team in front of them? I thought it was the Giants on the curse deal. Whoever was in front of them was saying, "We're taking him," and they were totally messing with him.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do I pull the trigger? Do I jump ahead of them?" And he decided just to stand pat, and they changed their mind or they balked. They were messing with him, whatever. They didn't do it. And, of course, they jumped on Curse with the next
right.
pick.
I mean, he ran up to the podium basically.
Yes.
He says, "There's no decision that needs to be made here.
Nope.
I'm taking Curse." There was a story he told about Tony Baselli and Steve McNair. Right, he wasn't sure if the Jaguars were going to take McNair, and he did a lot of research and then found out that because he was ready to make a deal to get McNair, and then found out that the Jaguars were going to take Tony Baselli. And he tells a funny story. I can't remember what it was, but he was on the phone with somebody. And he was finding out, and he was kind of like, never mind. He was thinking about, should I make a deal with this team so I can move up?
Hey,
and then
I can't
he found
hear you.
out
Bad connection.
Yeah,
Click.
and then intelligence came in like, no, they're taking Baselli. You're going to be all right. Never mind. Goodbye.
All right, we'll come back. By the way, Elliot Friedman to start the final hour. Back to wrap up the third hour next. Feels like a 70s theme bringing us back.
I know.
Or 80s. Back here on the DDC.
I think I'm going to lean 70s on this one.
This is 70s.
You would be correct. This is a recording of Prince's jazz. I think it's jazz funk sessions from 1977. This is a deep cut.
Some early Prince. Okay.
I like it.
Chase and Elijah are back at our Wholesale Link Game Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. Chase has got a big weekend in Cincinnati with Ryan Porth and Robbie Stanley and crew.
I inferred that
little bachelor
from
party.
listening to some of the morning show today.
Mm-hmm.
I inferred that. There was a lot of reference to Skyline Chili.
Yes,
as I recall.
Mm-hmm. And as Hal Gill eloquently put it to them at the end of his hit this morning, Skyline Chili is something you need to make sure that you do with the boys. It's not a date night thing. And you know what? He's correct.
Skillsy has many lessons in life that he can pass along. That's one of them.
As we say a lot on the pregame show, Pete and I we just want to make shirts. I feel like we can make a shirt after every segment with Hal in pregame. I just feel like it turns into a moment where we could sell a shirt or two.
He's got that knack.
We had an interesting discussion in the first hour that was pretty hot and heavy about jerseys and went down memory lane. We had a little fun with that in the first hour. And I guess, Chase, you want to follow up and finish up this conversation, I guess?
So, Willie, to be honest with you, this was very tunnel-esque. Like, this just
we went down to the tunnel?
We went down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
On these, like, what is a jersey, different jersey fouls, like, and people would throw out scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a violation or not?
I'm big into this topic. I love weighing in.
So, Keith sent a text on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and said this: problem solved. A grown man should never wear the jersey of another grown man, family excluded. And this, I was waiting for somebody to bring this up because I had this on our old morning show. I had this argument quite a bit, and I am a believer that you can wear whatever the heck you want to wear. If you want to wear, if Ryan Porth wants to wear a Joey Votto jersey, it is Ryan Porth's right, no matter his age, to wear a Joey Votto jersey. If I want to go get an Acuna jersey, it's my right. I don't have one. I have blank jerseys, or I have a Chipper Jones jersey, but I have never had an issue with that. But there are a group of people, and maybe one of you or Elijah, you're in this group, that you think that jerseys with names are for kids. I do not. I've heard people say once you turn 30, you shouldn't wear jerseys anymore.
But why 30? Where did they come up with that?
I don't know.
I mean, like 30. This
32.
is it.
Yeah, I'm thinking 32.
Well,
32, you've crossed the line.
In some people's eyes, 30 is when you're truly an adult, especially of the male gender. My friend Ricky is one. He's like, nah, grown, you shouldn't wear jerseys. And I'm like, no, man. Like, if you want to buy, then why sell jerseys? Like, what's the point then? If there are all these rules,
there's a lot of people buying those jerseys that
are
not kids.
Right. So, do I wear a jersey every day? No, I wear a jersey when I go to a game. That's why I think you buy the jersey. But I have no issue with it. It's a free country. If you are 60 years old and you want to wear a Philip Forsberg jersey, then go right ahead.
That's a
funny doesn't matter.
Visual there. The 60-year-old with the Forsberg.
Keith, respectfully, you're wrong.
You're going to put Keith on the list.
Well, I don't think he's wrong. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong
He's
answer.
not
I just
alone.
think you just have an opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of people that feel that way. I hardly ever wear a jersey. Do I own them? Yeah, I do. I mean, I've got a Winter Classic jersey. I just felt like you needed to have something. Or the All-Star, All-Star jersey. I misspoke. I have an All-Star jersey from the weekend here.
You have a jersey hanging behind you.
I have jerseys. Those are from our wedding.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't wear them. They're hanging on a wall. But I don't typically hardly ever wear one. But I also don't think there's a problem with it. I mean, I don't know. And yes, there are a lot of people in the Keith camp. Like, they are staunchly against it. Like, no adult should wear them. But I kind of harken back to what you say, Chase. Then why do we see pro shops selling jerseys left and right? I mean, have you been in a Predators pro shop these days?
Right.
They sell a lot of jerseys, lots. And they're not just for kids. They're adult jerseys. So, and the Titans do the same, and so forth and so on. I just think – I don't think there's a wrong answer, so I don't think it's, no, Keith, you're wrong, or whoever feels that way, you're wrong, or, the other way, you're wrong. I just think it's to each his own, and what's wrong with it? I mean, if you're against it, then don't wear them.
Okay, well, we have to make this distinction, though, Chase, you brought up.
Yeah.
Wearing a jersey to a team's game, I think that's a separate category than just wearing it around.
Okay, interesting.
No, I don't really think the people who are in the camp, whatever camp you're in, I think it's like they're against it. If you're in the camp of adults or 30 years old, whatever your bar is, that sounds so ridiculous. Like at 29, it's cool. It's all right. It's cool. But when you get to 31, like, that is a no-no. Like, that sounds ridiculous.
But I think it's a totally different deal. Like, when you go to any NHL game or NFL game,
you're seeing
tons of fans are wearing the jerseys.
Yeah, but the people that are in
That's
that camp,
different than
they say
everyday
if
life.
you're 48 years old, you should never, ever put
well,
on a
then they've
jersey.
never been to a game.
And I've heard this
90,
argument.
90% of the fans, not 90, but 80% of the fans have jerseys on, right?
Yeah, and I've heard
not just the kids.
Correct. I've heard Joe Rexrode make this argument.
Maybe it's not 80, but it's a lot.
That like
It's a lot.
it's not that you can't wear a jersey, but like for instance, like for me, I'm 33 years old. If I go to a Titans game and I wear Derrick Henry's jersey, whereas Derrick Henry is younger than me, is probably
right. I think people see that as a foul.
That I should wear Eddie George's jersey because Eddie George is
he's
more
older than
my
you.
era.
I thought about that. Anything I have with the name on the back, like our buddy Ricky, he sent me. It was just super nice out of nowhere. I don't know why he did it. He knows I'm a Mets fan. He sent me an old Dwight Gooden. You guys have seen it. Dwight Gooden batting practice jersey. It's awesome, man. But that was one of my childhood guys. I had Dwight Gooden on a poster on my wall. So I think I would wear that. I don't think I would wear a current Met. I wouldn't wear a Jacob deGrom jersey.
Right, and like I said with the Braves jersey, I don't have any of the new Braves. I don't have a Freddie Freeman. I have Chipper Jones, and so I kind of get that, but it's just saying you can't wear jerseys is wrong. Keith then has responded. He says after 60, you're allowed again.
Because at 60, you don't care anymore.
Exactly.
Luckily,
that's a good
luckily, people will say they probably don't believe this, but luckily nobody on this show has any idea what that's like.
Yes,
so
luckily I was going to say, God willing, we'll all get to 60 and then be able to make that decision.
But nobody
for
on this show can comment about that, but, that's funny. That's good.
Kyle, real quick, says, no, Darren, Keith is wrong. If people don't want to wear jerseys, they can pee in each other's Cheerios. They don't have to ruin everyone else's.
Good responses. All right, we'll come back. Elliot Freeman to kick off the final hour. That's next. Final hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this gorgeous Thursday afternoon here in Middle Tennessee. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, Chase McCabe with you. Don't forget tonight, Predators in Raleigh to take on the Hurricanes. 6 o'clock puck drop. Pete Weber and Hal Gill will have your call right here on these airwaves, and I will have your pregame starting at 5 o'clock. We say hello and good afternoon to Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet. 31 Thoughts, Hockey Night in Canada. He does it all. Elliot, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Well, we've gone down a dangerous rabbit hole all day about adults wearing jerseys. You know, should grown men wear jerseys? Should adults wear jerseys? Some people even said once you get to 30, then, you know, you're too old to wear jerseys, or you can't wear jerseys of people that are younger than you. So how do you feel about adults and jerseys?
Well, I'll tell you this. Like, the one thing I do feel very strongly about is that no adult should wear a basketball singlet. I have seen those, and I don't like those. Like, I've seen people wear those to games, and I think that's very wrong. So I actually have a lower bar for the singlets than I do for the jerseys.
Why would you wear that to a hockey game, or you're just saying in general?
Even like basketball, football, anything like that. Like I just don't like them. I think they're really. I think they're just not. I'm not big on armpits either. Like, it's just. I think there's a lot of things that go with that. But I think the singlet look is terrible. I will tell you this: since I became a dad, if my son had a player they really liked and asked me to wear the same jersey as a player he really liked, I think that's acceptable. If you're going to support a child or your son or your daughter, I think it's acceptable for a parent to wear a jersey. To me, it often comes down to how it looks on you. Like, I've seen some people wearing some really ugly jerseys or jerseys that had a bad fit, and I think that's a violation. However, I am more open to accepting jerseys than I was when I was younger, but the singlet is out. The singlet is not acceptable.
So you brought in kind of the fashion element. That's good. I'm glad.
Lots of good points.
I'm glad we asked. You brought in a new layer to the discussion.
Things to consider.
Very good.
I think any parent who wears a jersey because their kid likes the jersey, I think you're exempt from criticism. But please, find one that fits. That's all I ask.
Ben Bishop has not been with the Stars all season, and he's not going to be with the Stars this season. Radulov has been out for a long period of time, and now the Stars have said he's not going to be back for Dallas. What do you make of that announcement that came in the last 24 hours of Bishop and Radulov not going to be back for the Stars this year? How do you think that affects them down the stretch?
You know, I think with Bishop, I think they knew that was a possibility. I think with Radulov, they knew it was a possibility, but they hoped it wouldn't happen. You know, I've heard that when it comes to Dallas this year, that team has been held together by string and duct tape. I've had people say to me that Hintz in particular, what he's going through to play is unbelievably impressive and very challenging. And I don't think he's the only one. You know, you remember, too, they had the first big COVID outbreak. They missed the first week and a half of the season. They missed another week, as you know, when Texas had that electricity grid problem. Their schedule's been completely jammed. I think that team is terribly banged up. And, you know, I don't think the news today, that news came as a huge surprise to them. I think they were hoping that somehow Radulov would be able to play. But it's an admission by the Stars that, you know, the odds aren't great. The better thing to do is to worry about health next year, and they're just going to grind it out as best they can.
It's no secret. The Predators season is in this next week and a half. So they've got 2 games against Carolina on the road tonight and Saturday. And then they have 3 games next week against the Blackhawks. And to me, that is going to be for that 4th spot, because tonight's game is game 45 of the 56-game season. So it's, by the way, it's pretty interesting. The top 4 are playing each other tonight and Saturday. So the Predators at Carolina and the Panthers in Tampa will square off Thursday and Saturday. How do you see that, by the way? And John Cooper announcing today that Stamkos will not be a part of the Panthers series. He was not a part of the series against the Predators here. How much is that kind of weighing on the Lightning, Stamkos' unavailability?
Well, I think he's going to be out a little bit. Unfortunately, it's really a shame because, for one thing, the championship seems to, brought out a great side to his personality. He seemed very relaxed. I thought the games I saw him play, I thought he was playing pretty well. Unfortunately, this year you better get used to the fact that you're going to be missing players here and there. I mean, you guys were missing your best player for quite some time. The way that the world is right now and the compression of the schedule, it's challenging. So you have to be used to that. At least if you're the Lightning, you're in a good spot. And, unfortunately, you've kind of gotten used to playing without him because his body has just been beaten up so much. So I'm sure they'll handle it okay. One of the things I'm kind of thinking with you guys is I like the way you guys are playing. I like you guys head-to-head against Chicago. I think you're a better team. It's interesting. I was talking to someone today who works for one of the Eastern-based American teams, and we were talking about the Norris Trophy this year. And we feel that Adam Fox from the Rangers is going to be in the conversation. Obviously, we think Hedman is probably the favorite and probably the guy who's going to win. The other name we talked about was Cale Makar in Colorado. And then we both talked about Yossi a bit. And, he missed too many games, I think. But as you guys have surged, I think he's reminded everybody of his importance. And he's played incredibly well for your team. And, I think he's reminded everybody about, A, what a good player he is, B, how much the Predators go when he's around, and C, that whoever gets you guys in the first round of the playoffs, assuming you get there, you better be game planning for him. I like you guys against Chicago. You look at you guys decided at the deadline you were in. You didn't sell. You didn't bet on futures. You said, okay, Ekholm's been out there. We're not doing that. We're going for it. And you did. As a matter of fact, you added a depth D. Chicago, they shuffled around. They made some deals for futures. They bet on some guys who didn't work in Florida and hope to give them another chance there. I think Chicago knows it's had a good run here, but the odds aren't with them. And I like you guys head-to-head against them.
Well, that's where I was going next. So what was the reaction that the Predators at the deadline, that they didn't do anything other than they did add a depth piece, but they did not shed any roster. What did you make of that?
Well, I think as I look back, guys, at the last 6 weeks to 2 months, I think a flare was sent through the Nashville Predators dressing room. And, I think, whether some of these things come true or not, the Predators were looking at things. And obviously that got out, and the players found out about it. And I think if you're a player in that situation, you know that if things don't get better, there are going to be changes. And, Yossi came back, which is obviously a big deal. But, I think there were guys here who kind of realized that if they liked it there and they wanted to stay there, things had to get better. And I think you guys played better and you guys played harder. And obviously, like I said again for the 38th time, Yossi's a huge part of that example, and he comes back. But, at the end of the day, David Poile, he wasn't going to make the changes if the team was trending in a better direction. And obviously the team is trending in a better direction. And we'll see. Now he said you're not losing Ekholm in the expansion draft. I think Nashville's probably a 4 a defenseman team now. If I was betting today, you guys are probably protecting 4D, barring what else David might come up with, and we'll see. I think at the very least you've changed the short-term vision of what the Predators had planned for this organization, and I think the moves at the trade deadline or non-moves prove that.
Talking to Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet, 31 Thoughts, Hockey Night in Canada. Elliot, there was so much discussion. You just hit the Ekholm part of it, so I'll hit you with the other part that was talked about so much, and that's Mikael Granlund. I think David Poile surprised some by saying, yeah, I'd like to take a look at bringing him back somehow next year. Now, it's complicated because he's a free agent, and you don't want to sign him and have to protect him if it's your intention to keep him, right? You'd have to let him go to the market. So what is the market?
Or you could have a handshake deal.
I see. Okay, so that's where I'm going.
I don't get the sense right now. I've wondered about this. I think there were some teams that were interested in Granlund, and I think there was a time where you probably would have dealt him. I think that changed. Obviously, I think he's played. You guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think he's been really good lately.
Essential to their success.
Some of the best hockey I've ever seen him play. But the thing is, and I'm sure that they would like to keep him if they can. It's going to be a dance. You guys have some long-term deals. I could see the organization saying, look, we've been burned by long-term deals before. I don't know, even for Granlund, how comfortable they're going to be with that. I don't get a sense that much conversation has started. Could have been, but I'm not aware of it. But I think the one thing you are going to see is some handshake deals between teams and players saying, okay, we have a contract, but we also have an expansion draft issue. Let's wait through the expansion draft, and then we'll sign you. I do think those things happen. One of the players, and I want to stress it, I don't know that this is the case, but one of the situations I kind of wonder about it is in Dallas with Jamie Alexiak. He's an unrestricted free agent. I know they could have traded him. They didn't. That says to me they want him to stay. I would think he'd want to stay. I'm sure they've had conversations about it. Do I think they have a handshake deal? No, I don't. Do I think it's possible somewhere down the road they could? Yes, I do. But again, I don't think that it's done, and I don't think that's going to be unique. I think you're going to have several situations around the league where players and teams say, we have a deal, but we're going to wait till after the expansion draft to announce it.
I wanted to go. You watch closely what's Eric Goodbranson, and because he's been in Ottawa. You watch everybody, but I'm curious your scatter report on him because it was sort of a out of nowhere grab this guy. They didn't give up much to get him, but a lot of people are wondering: they intend to use this guy? Like for example, they're using Ben Harper and Jeremy Davies as their third pair. When they started the season, they would not have envisioned those guys having to play critical games down the stretch at this point. I think if they had their druthers, Davies would still be developing in the AHL, and they would never had to get down on the depth chart enough to use Harper. And Harper has been admirable based on who he is. But could Goodbranson be an upgrade on those guys in your mind?
Yeah, I think he could be. First of all, Eric Goodbranson is like one of the nicest players in the league. He's just a really... I actually did a charity telethon with him a few years ago when he was in Vancouver and he was injured. Every year the Canucks host with one of their games, the Canucks for Kids telethon. And so I went out there to host it, and Goodbranson, because he was injured, appeared on it with me, and just an unbelievably nice person. The thing is, as a player, Goodbranson he's not an offensive player. He's kind of the guy that if you come into your zone, he's going to look to take a part of your body away from you. He's a good depth player. I think that, as you guys said, this year, your third pair was supposed to be Borowiecki and Benning, right?
Right.
And this, with the injuries that we've had and the compressed schedule that we've had, you need bodies. And I think that that's exactly what he's perfect for. He's a perfect depth add. And in the playoffs where it's a little meaner and a little rougher, if you need him in a pinch, he's very good to fill out that role.
The other one I wanted to ask you, and it's really interesting. I can tell you my perspective, Elliot. I have not watched a lot of, especially full games, outside of the Central, right? If there's a game in the Central, I'm watching that game as opposed to a game that's going on up in Canada. It's just easy to do that because from our prism here, everything revolves around those 8 teams for Nashville, right?
Yep.
So I'm curious how that might work in the voting for some of the big awards. And I'll use Juuse Saros as an example. I'm sure he has been off the radar from the start because he got off to such a terrible start. He was 3-5, and the stats, they were ugly, right? He was in the 800s, and his goals against was way over 3. Now you turn around, he's playing as well as anybody in the league. But for something like the Vezina, how do you think it works, especially this year when I'm sure a lot of people aren't watching the Predators that closely outside of the Central?
Well, the interesting one about the Vezina is that that's voted on by the general managers.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even think about that one. Yeah.
So every time you have David Poile on, whenever you have David Poile on for the remainder of the season, you have to ask him 3 times in the interview what he's doing to talk up Saros to the other GMs. He'll really enjoy
So he needs
that.
to be the PR machine on that one then.
He has to be the PR machine for Juuse Saros. So if he doesn't win the Vezina, you guys have to rip Poile for not doing a good enough job of lobbying.
I gotcha. Well, winning it is one thing, right? Because Vasilevsky has been so good, but he's never been on the radar before. So I'm curious, is he on your radar in terms of just being noticed how well he's playing?
Lately, yes. Like in the last month or two, yes, absolutely. One of the kind of the weird things about this year, guys, is there aren't really a ton of races, right, to get into the playoffs. Teams have really separated themselves. So the one you're in for the 4th place in your division, that actually has been a race. So people have been watching it pretty closely. And, I think the other thing, too, is, when the news kind of got out that Rene wasn't going to be dealt because, they wanted him to retire as a Predator, and then we noticed he wasn't playing as much because Saros had kind of taken over the net. People really noticed that. Like I agree with you. I think Vasilevsky is a really, really tough guy to beat for this award. There's no question about that. I mean, Hellebuck would be another guy from Winnipeg. Fleury was off to an unbelievable start in Vegas. His numbers were ridiculous. I think it'll be a big challenge for Saros to finish in the top 3, but he's on the radar. I don't know I'm part of the voting committee that deals with this. We haven't announced it, so I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but I'm not afraid of getting in a little bit of trouble. We have looked at some changes for this year to try to make the voting a bit more balanced and equitable. Normally there's a lot of the voting pools from Canada just because there's so many of us. And one of the things that we were very sensitive to was, let's just say if we have 50 more voters in Canada as compared to the other divisions, we kind of didn't want that this year. So we've looked at some changes that we can make and some alterations we can make to try to give all of the divisions some more equal representation. So the answer to your question long-windedly is yes, we have looked at ways of making the voting more equitable.
Wish you could have been in the building with us Tuesday night. It was a lot of fun. By the way, Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, and Jordan Spieth in the building having a whole lot of fun coming through from the Masters, and they said, hey, let's catch a Preds Lightning game. They showed them on the Jumbotron. They were having fun.
I have to tell you, I'm disappointed that they weren't put on one end and with a club and seeing if they could chip a golf ball or a puck into the opposite net. I think this is a lost marketing opportunity.
That is a great
for
point.
The Predators.
They missed out on that.
That would have been
fantastic. Shea Weber did once connect on a slap shot from the top level.
He did.
In the club in the end zone to the opposite net with Dirk Bentley up there. So you're right, Elliot. That was the platform there. They should have done that. Also,
awesome.
Elliot, we have to tell you before you go, Don't let those guys give you the hard time about the haircut. We went through that in the last – of course, I didn't, but we went through that in the last spring, right? The not being able to get the haircut for a while. The guys on NHL Network were just wearing you out on that.
You know what? I got to tell you guys, the way it's going right now, if we can all have a laugh over this bird's nest I got on top of my head, I got no problem with that.
That's right. Just go with it. Just go with it.
Hey,
just going with it.
Always appreciate the visit. Thanks for doing this as always. We'll talk to you next week.
No, you know what? I told Elijah I'm going to take a week off next week. I'm going to take a week off from my radio hit, so we'll do it again in 2 weeks, guys.
Sounds good. I'll be very curious to see what the standings look like. What's happened in that time? Thanks for doing this.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
All right, you too. Elliot Freeman from Sportsnet. There you go. So, man, that means the next week, the 3 games against Chicago, the 2 games against Carolina upcoming. Boy, when we talk to him the following Thursday, that'll be close to the end of the regular season, right?
Picture will be coming into focus.
Yes, it will. It'll be in HD.
One way or the other.
For sure. All right, we'll come back. More on the other side. We'll talk about, by the way, the Predators have made an announcement about next week's games against the Blackhawks. We'll tell you what the heck we're talking about. You're going to want to hear this. On the other side, Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's time to tell you once again about Lee Company. We were just talking Predators. Lee Company is a proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. Our radio coverage, again, begins tonight at 5 with Darren. It'll be Nashville versus Carolina. Carolina in a battle for the top of the Central Division. They're an outstanding team. Big, big games as Nashville tries to get back to the postseason. In the meantime, Lee Company wants you to know they are here for you in so many different facets. One of them is just flat-out home renovation, home improvement. They have that department. If there's a project you've been looking to do, something on a patio, something with a back fence, something with an improvement of a bathroom or a kitchen, talk to Lee Company about that very thing. 615-567-1000. And, of course, their bread and butter, heating, plumbing, electrical, and cooling. Cooling being the one top of mind right now as the weather begins to get warmer. If you haven't had the air conditioner checked in a while, absolutely give them a call, 615-567-1000, or go online and make an online appointment at leecompany.com. Lee Company, let their decades of expertise go to work for you.
Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase on this Thursday. Hope everybody's had a great day to this point. Willie, we must wish a very, very happy birthday to someone on this program. I feel like it's safe to do it now. I think all the festivities are over.
Yep, I think so.
The surprise birthday party for our fearless leader, our owner, Bud Walters, who had a birthday today, and I think they everything is done there at the radio station. It was during our show, so unfortunately we were not able to attend, but I guess there's some birthday cake circulating around. But a happy birthday to Bud Walters. And, oh, by the way, the Radio Week magazine just named him the #1 leader in radio. How about that? How about that honor? So happy birthday, Bud. We appreciate everything you do. And I think today's the big 5-0 for Bud Walters.
The big 5-0, okay.
Big 5-0.
We'll put that out there.
So happy birthday, Bud. Sorry we missed the surprise for you today at noon, but we had a job to do. But we can tell you now because I think everything's over. We couldn't do it earlier, right? Because it was a surprise. So we had to wait until everything was done.
I think we've grown to appreciate him even more in this day and age, the way radio has evolved, right? The way that he still keeps our ship steady.
Yep.
Right? After all these years, still down. You don't have a lot of radio stations across the country. Some people may know this, some people may not, but you don't have a lot of radio stations around the country where your boss works at the building with you.
Nope.
Sometimes the bosses are way off in the hinterlands, and they're not looking at what you do every day.
Not visible.
Involved with us every day with what we do. So there's really something to be said for that. And I'm really glad he got recognized amongst his peers like that. I think that's been fun the last few years. I think he's been recognized more and more for what he's done.
And Bud had to say yes to this format flip. And by the way, with that being said, in August, we're coming up on 10 years, a decade of 102.5 The Game right here in Nashville. Hard to believe. A decade.
I'm thinking when you say that, Darren, Jeremy Piven's character in Grosse Pointe Blank, when they go back for the 10-year high school reunion, him and John Cusack, he goes, 10 years! 10 years! It is. Darren, we've been here. We will have been here longer than anywhere else.
I know.
That's pretty crazy.
That's what's
we've
crazy.
We've been some other places for quite a long time, but this is going to be #1.
I know. That is unbelievable. I had that. Honestly, I had that same thought right before you said that. That is amazing. Now, I hinted that the Predators put something out in lieu of this game coming up against Chicago starting on Monday, because the Preds are in Raleigh Thursday and Saturday, but they'll be back home hosting the Blackhawks on Monday. And listen to this, really good news. They're going to up the capacity. They're going to increase it to 33%.
Yep.
33% at Bridgestone Arena, which is just under 6,000 people, 5,700 to be exact. And I guess that starts on Monday's game against the Blackhawks.
It's going to get a little bit louder in there. Just a little bit louder.
Yeah, we just had that conversation, right?
Yep.
We just talked about how it has started just feeling a lot more normal in the building, and now we're talking about adding a couple more thousand into the building. So pretty cool. Pretty good, really cool news. And by the way, that is also for non-hockey events too, which should hopefully mean good news for getting a little bit more normalcy, that, some other things not hockey related will start happening in a Bridgestone Arena as well. And I know they have plans for that. So very, very cool. Just wanted to pass that along. Now, I asked Adam Vingan in the first hour about something that happened, a move that was put out there after we got off the air yesterday about bringing up Philip Tomasino, putting him on the taxi squad. What do you make of that move?
Well, I think, number one, it says all you got to do is look at the stats at the AHL, and you know that he has done really well. let's make a comparison. And, of course, as we know, every prospect's development path is different. But Eeli Tolvanen didn't light it up right away in the AHL for Milwaukee, right? It took him a while. But here's Philip Tomasino at age 19. He was second to one Tanner Jeannot in points at the AHL level at age 19 for a really good team, right? So it's not as if he's just kind of playing along with a loaded team and he's getting some goals. Like, it is a loaded team, but he's putting up points. So I think that shows you that he's made a lot of strides. Now, the question is he a guy that they are looking to put in the lineup right away? I don't think that's the case, but I think what they want is, let's get him here. Let's get him with the guys. Let's get him acclimated again. Let's have him around. Observe what's happening at practice. Now, I don't know this, right? Because I think we have been told that, and Matt Duchene, I think, said it the other day, he's getting closer to getting back in. I think hopefully you're going to start to see some of the guys they've been missing badly get back in. But I think this could go a lot of different ways, in my opinion, for Tomasino. The one thing you have to keep in mind is you don't want to burn a year of his contract if you can help it. Now, the thing is, if he jumps in there and he lights it up, then you're not quite as worried about it, right? You just deal with it because he's helping you win. But I think maybe you let him get his feet wet here and somewhere if the opportunity arises. But if not, he's at least around the group. He's practicing with them. So if you do need to put him in there, he's not just dropping out of the sky and thrown in with the rest of the guys. Does that make sense? Tell me, give me your thoughts on it.
Well, if I'm being totally honest, the first thought is every time you see something kind of come out of left field like that this season, it makes you go, "Oh, great! Who got hurt? Who got hurt Tuesday?" Right? That's if I'm just being totally honest.
That has happened,
right? Right. It's like, "Oh, great! Who's not going to be in the lineup tonight?" Who's the latest to fall?
I don't think that will be the case tonight.
No, I know, but I'm just being honest. That's usually my first thought because it's like
you're right to think that.
Great. Oh, they just recalled Tanner Jeannot. What happened? Oh, Matthew Olivier's out for 4 to 5 weeks. It's that type of deal, and we've kind of gotten used to that, and so that was my initial thought of, oh, great, they're just coming off a 7-2 win over Tampa. Who got hurt in this one? But look, I don't have anything really to add that you just didn't already put out there. I mean, I just think that, one, when you think about all the success that they've had with the young guys, and he's a different level because he truly would be the youngest guy if he gets a crack at the lineup anytime soon. He's the youngest guy they're going to put out there. That's what's been pretty interesting. You've heard me bring this up several times is, you can't keep holding your prospects down in the system until they're 23, 24 years. Like, a lot of these guys are seasoned, right? I mean, Davies and Carrier and all these guys they've been using. Tanner Jeannot, they're all like 23 and 24 years old. They're not 19. I mean, Tolvanen's still young, but he's not 18 or 19. So I think there's a lot of people that are very curious to see what he looks like, right? I mean, the curiosity factor is definitely there. We know it was there with Tolvanen for a good while. And going back to your point about, his production or at times lack of, especially early on in Milwaukee, you heard, or at least I did, it was people going, I don't know, is this Tolvanen guy really going to work out? Like, he's not lighting Milwaukee on fire. Like, is this really going to work out? Is this guy going to be what everybody thought he was going to be? Or was it just kind of a, flash in the pan, everybody got excited on international ice, on the bigger ice, and it's just not going to work out here, right? Those feelings were out there. I mean, I saw it on Twitter. I saw it on, fan pages or whatever. People said that to me. And I'm like, hey, keep in mind, I would always go back to he's still extremely young. He's very, very young. Keep that in mind. And so now that he's gotten a crack at the full-time lineup, he's made the most of it. And we know now that soon as Tolvanen's ready to return. I mean, this guy has earned, his roster spot. He has earned where he's been. Not only he's earned it, he's been on the top line. So, but I think the curiosity factor is pretty high, right?
It's
Wouldn't you
very
say?
high. Well, he's their number one prospect, I think. Depending on which board you look at, especially if you consider Askarov their first round pick, the highest prospect because of his unique story. That's fine, but we also know he's a few years away from even being on the radar, right?
Yep.
Tomasino is certainly their number one prospect. Now that Tolvanen is up and established, Tomasino is the next guy. And so he's also only 19. So if I had to guess, I think it's if the Duchesnes, Forsbergs, Tolvanen start coming back into the lineup steadily and they don't lose anybody else, I don't know that Tomasino will really get in there other than maybe a game to just take a look at him. Mm-hmm. But if they get another round of injuries, which, hey, you never know, I think they feel like he's close enough now. He would be next on the depth chart, right? Because he's not just their number one prospect. He's a guy that's had a really good year in the AHL at 19 years of age, which for people that don't know, when you're 19, usually you are either in the NHL or you are back in juniors for Canada. There's not an in-between. But this year, because the juniors didn't play, you could put him in Milwaukee. So that's been an interesting dynamic. So he's gotten a chance to play in the, quote, men's league, with more seasoned players, older players. And I think he's made a lot of good strides there. He's gotten great experience because of it. Otherwise, he'd just be beating up on guys his own age that he's been schooling for the last couple years.
For years, yeah. Another guy that I probably should have brought up in the 23 to 24-year-old category, getting his first real crack at the NHL is Rem Pitlick, and he's 24. Here's another guy, 24 years old. He's played 8 games this season, and he finally got his first NHL point on Tuesday night on the first goal of the night on Sisson's goal, and then he followed it up with another assist. And so he got 2 points in Tuesday night's 7-2 win. Here's another guy, like I said, because of the injuries, he's been able to string a couple games in a row. He's played 8 games this season, so it's been kind of more just on for a couple and goes away, on for a couple, goes away. Well, what did you make of Rem Pitlick in his new little short window of on games?
I think if he's at his best, I think he has shown that he belongs. He's an NHL player. I think it's doing it every night is going to be the question for him. And what does that mean? It's using what you have, right? What does he have? He has speed. He's a quick, fast player that when he's playing at a high level, and you saw it on Tuesday, right? He's making things happen, right? He's got the puck. He's moving it up ice. He's blending in with Eric Halla and Nick Cousins. Made a couple of nice feeds. Where does he probably need the work? It's, playing against big, heavy teams. He's not a big guy, right? Can he handle himself along the boards against power forwards, right, that are trying to take it to him physically? Can he defend those guys on the other end of the ice in the defensive zone? Right now, he's still growing in that area, but I think these are all great stories, right? These guys have played really important games at this stage of their career, and there are some situations where they would never have gotten a chance this year. They'd still be having to prove it in Milwaukee and just hoping. It's what happened to Carrier for the last few years, right? The situation never really opened up. He played a couple games for the Predators several years ago. Mm-hmm. Carrier did.
Yep. Another 24-year-old. Do you think they're more comfortable with Pitlick on the wing?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. Could he be a center down the road? Maybe. I don't know.
I thought initially that's where I thought he's going to play, but he's been playing on the wing, and he seems like that's his spot, right, on that Halla Cousins line.
For now. Well, that would be an interesting thing. This is something that I'm sure in the hockey ops department, they probably have inner discussions about it. Like, what if you put Tomasino in there? Would he look the same as Pitlick because he's younger? Would he look better because maybe he's got a little more ceiling? Or, would Pitlick be the better choice right now? These are all things that are very difficult questions. You don't know. But certainly Pitlick has now got some games under his belt. He's at a stage of his career where you got to find out if he can play, right? You still got some time with Tomasino. But these are all questions that I'm glad I'm not a scout or a general manager, because these are tough calls, right? You can be right, you can be wrong on some guys. But the good news is a lot of these guys have come out and really helped them get to this point. Well, think about the last time they were in Carolina. That was the debut of Davies. Carrier had just come on the scene. They'd lost Ellis. They had lost Yossi. And you're thinking, how in the world are they going to win any of these games? They've got at Carolina, at Tampa Bay, at Florida. Those were the 6 games ahead. Yossi had gotten hurt in the shootout. Remember, he had the bloody jersey.
Dallas, yep.
He scored. He's out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I remember when he told us that news. Okay, Yossi's out. Davies is up. Carrier's. They had already lost Ellis. Duchesne was already out. You're thinking, good luck, guys. Are you kidding me? But they held it together, largely because these guys that have been waiting their turn came in there and found a way to keep it competitive.
And they've talked about how important that road trip was, 4-3-1, and what it did to really turn it around this season. Now 13-3 in their last 16 games. All right, we'll come back, wrap up Thursday's edition of Darren, Daunic, and Chase next.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto, another sponsor I've been telling you about now for a few weeks. And remember my message, it's consistent. But maybe I've sort of gotten your attention. I want to put you over the top today. Call the phone number 615-499-5780 if any of these things apply to you. A, you don't know what your current mortgage rate is. That's totally fine. Don't feel bad about it. I walked around for years having no idea what it was. I just didn't pay attention to that stuff. But the bottom line is if your current mortgage rate is over 3%, they can save you money at Loan Pronto in a hurry. In a hurry. It will lower your monthly mortgage payment if you own your home, and that is money in your pocket. So also, if this applies to you, you've done the home refi thing before, you've refinanced, and it has been a hassle. A long stack of papers, a long process to get this information to this guy, that information to this woman over here. Forget everything you know about getting a home loan, because it's all changed with Loan Pronto. It's faster, it's easier, it's less expensive. You can get the home loan or refinance your current mortgage, and you get cash, and it's going to benefit you financially. It's called the Zero Cost Refi. Here's your phone number, 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. They've gone digital with this process now. There's not a bunch of paperwork. There's no junk fees, and they make it easy. If you refinance now, you can skip your next 2 house payments altogether. Loan Pronto, zero cost refi, 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com, equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. No cash refi, not available on all loans.
Oh, Jim. It is. But not quite yet. And as you just heard in the promo, let's go on and text. It's time to give away a hockey home gating party. You know, a chance to win a Dos Equis prize pack, which includes a case of beer, dessert from Nothing Bundt Cakes, T-Mobile prize pack, and food provided by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. Remember, you must be 21 years of age or older to enter, and you're going to text in this keyword to our text line driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 737-1025. Today's keyword is rink. Today's keyword is rink. Text in the word rink. Good luck. Blow up the text line for us. Not literally. Just text in the word rink. I was looking at some tweets, Willie, when we were having our discussion. Some of the Nashville media tweeting out there, I guess George Kittle has been working out in Nashville. I guess today he was out there with T.J. Hawkinson, and some media showed up, and I don't know exactly where they were. It's one of the private schools, I can tell you that.
So you're saying we should look for George Kittle tonight at the hockey game?
Well, ironically, he was asked. Well, I don't think so. That's in Raleigh, so they're in and I think, and he was asked about Philip Forsberg if he knew when he was returning to the lineup.
I'm going to Bridgestone Arena. George is welcome to come down there, but there won't be a game there.
I was going to say, will they let him in?
I think he could. Well, he could play the "Don't you know who I am" card. Mr. Kittle, I don't see you on the list here.
I don't see
you as working. You're not working the broadcast tonight, Mr. Kittle.
I mean, if you want to invite him as a special guest, I mean, sure, I guess he can get in. But he was out there. He was asked about Philip Forsberg if he knew when he was going to return, because everybody knows that him and Forsberg are very close. And
so what did he say?
He said he didn't know, but he said he loves that the team is on a roll and playing so well.
All right. Maybe he does. Do you think he knows? I think he knows.
I think he knows.
I think he's got an idea.
But he's not good.
Now, Philip Forsberg, he might be at Bridgestone Arena doing something with somebody over there. I don't know if it's on the ice or not, but I think he's reporting for duty and trying to get a little better each day. They need number 9 in there.
What's the vibe you're getting that who's the closest to returning?
I think the vibe is Duchesne.
Okay.
Is the closest.
But nothing's going to happen on this trip.
I wouldn't think so.
I kind of felt like David said that earlier in the week.
But he also said, I have put my foot in my mouth before, because I think he was telling us the week before that he thought by the trade deadline they'd have 1 or 2 of those guys back. But the day of the trade deadline, that's what he said. He goes, you know what, I feel dumb because I kind of hoped we'd have somebody back by now, and we're not. It's going to be another week. But you have to admit, they kind of dropped Ellis in there out of nowhere.
They did.
There were really no hints that he was going to be in. So I wouldn't rule anything out completely. But tonight, I think they'll be the same as they've been.
That's why I said I feel like...
The other question is Goodbranson. I don't know when he becomes eligible, right? There's the quarantine coming from
7
Canada.
days.
But I think there's ways you can try to shave off a day or two if you travel a certain way, you pass a certain amount of tests. I think they have tried to work with people there.
Nate said on Twitter that Matt Duchesne said yesterday on Robbie and Rex Road that he's aiming for next week.
Yeah.
There you go. It'll be fun. Boy, these next 2 games are going to be a lot of fun. See how this plays out. Like I said, the top 4 teams in the Central going at it tonight. Florida and Tampa, and Nashville and Carolina. We'll see how it all plays out. We're looking forward to the discussion tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to finish up the work week. You enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Continue to be safe, and we will talk to you then. Don't forget, pregame starts at 5 today. Stay tuned. Stillman & Company is next.
Closing time. One last call.